All right. Hello. Welcome to Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined as always by Bracken Crocker and newly minted into his resume as a hybrid racer for the fifth or seventh time, third place at DEKA NorCal, Jack Bauer. What's up, dude?
What's up? Yeah, I cannot avoid controversy at NorCal for third place. It's 3 straight years, 3 straight third places, 3 straight. Was I actually the third to cross the line? Nope. Did I get the award? Yup. So I can't
Three
help
straight
it.
times?
3 straight times. The first time it
It's a Race
was
Brain
Cole,
teaser
Cole
right off the
yeah,
jump.
exactly. It was Cole Schwartz, Jeremiah Mahan, and I. We were all battling, and then I ended up finishing second. But that was Anas's debut. He signed up day of, so he wasn't on the list.
You
He
just
gets second
slipped
from
through
the
the
other heat.
cracks. You didn't
Yeah,
know about it.
exactly. So I get third. Last year, Jeremiah and I had a battle. He accidentally went 4 laps on the sled. I went 5, and then he ended up out burping me. But when you take into account that time difference and skipping the sleds, they ended up giving me third. And then this year we'll talk about it.
Congrats, dude.
It's a good race.
Do you want to go off right off the bat, Jack? Give us a race recap in 90 seconds.
All right, race
Who's
recap.
getting hosed?
90 seconds. That's it.
It always goes long, so I'm gonna.
I don't know. I'll try keeping it short. You guys chime in when you want. But
Clock
yeah,
started.
pretty much I was like, Mark Paulzine, he has a PR 31:15, 31:20. I'm going with him. I want to run fast, see what happens. Jeremiah always goes up pretty fast and he's a hard closer. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to stick with them because this year, if we're going top 15 for worlds, I've got to run a fast time. So basically stuck on them plus or minus a few seconds until the air bike. Got in the air bike, was like, I had a plan. I was like, I'm gonna go fast on it at the beginning and then kind of taper off. Legs did not have that. And I made an audible right there. I'm like, I'm just gonna taper back and I'm gonna hammer this run and see what I can do and chip back. I've only got like 10 minutes left in the race, but it's not a smart idea for how my body's currently feeling to go hard on this air bike. But I think I've got enough in the tank. And then, made 10 seconds back. I even let them pass me on the farmer's carry, which was a little embarrassing and hurt the ego a little
That's
bit.
your
But
station.
it was the right move at the end. And that was before air bike. But anyway, yeah, I chipped away. I had a really good wallovers and then got to the burpees and I'm like, not today. I'm not getting past on burpees. I've been working on those. And I just made an executive decision. I'm like, I'm just gonna hurt. And I think I kind of stayed engaged, even though I fell behind pretty late into the race. And I was just happy with the effort, despite not running like the best time. Across the board, it seemed like 20, 30 seconds slower, but I think it was a solid race and really good tactics at that point for me.
Time.
140.
I was close. I was close.
100
Not
seconds. That was
bad.
great. That was great.
That was good.
Did it. And with that, the being able to make a call on like in real time during a race in DEKA is, that shows some discipline. I myself have just like, I have a plan and I'm going to do it. And then I just am feeling bad and I try to still stick to it and I just explode into pieces where
Yeah.
you did the right thing on a couple of stations, especially on those back ends where you're like, hey, I need some juice. There's still a lot of race after the bike. It doesn't seem like it because it's so you're just hurting so bad, but it's still, what do we think? Like 7+ minutes, right?
I got off the bike at like 21:30 or so, and ahead of the race, I was like, okay, if I'm not off this by 20:50 or so, I'm not running 31:30 or faster. That was kind of like the splits that I had in my mind, and I was like, it's just not happening. Maybe it's not my day, but then I did the math. I'm like, I've still got 10 minutes left. If I do 90 if I do 90 RPMs right now, it's gonna take 12 minutes. Like this is not the move to do right now. So I definitely had the game plan and I was like, it's just not happening. It's bad. It would be like getting on a course or playing a game and it's like a little windier than you expect. And you're like, maybe I shouldn't try to throw the ball deep because it's just not, the conditions aren't favorable right now. I had to execute how I was feeling at that moment.
Regular Tom Brady out there on the DEKAFIT course.
Still haven't seen the roast, but I'm gonna.
I was watching it right prior to this, and then I had to take a break and decompress because I wanted to come in here spitting fire.
Just jokes. You knew you got warmed up. That was like your warm up, BK. Now you're ready to
Yeah.
laugh.
So
The
and I
headliner
came in
comes out.
here, and then the comedy genius appeared on screen, and I thought, I don't want to embarrass myself.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Jack, you're a great reminder that that DEKAFIT still has to follow the rules of endurance. Kevin
Yeah.
Gregory and a few other athletes have given us some false hope that you can just target a station and hammer it with everything you have and be rewarded for it. And you just very rarely can, especially when there's running in between. It's one thing in strong to do it. It's another thing maybe in a mile, but in the full DEKAFIT, there's so much running left that you saw how it happened. You came to the next run almost engaged again. Like it just still has to abide by the rules we know of in racing, which is you can't have huge peaks and valleys. And it was cool to see the patience rewarded because it was nail biting to watch you do it. Because you're just sitting there with time running away from you, and you held on. It was awesome.
Yeah, that definitely. I got nervous. Like after the farmer's carry, I was like, what? Jeremiah just blew by me. But I watched the race coverage from San Jose that first year, and I made a very similar move, and I just didn't have anything on that next run. And I was like, I feel like I'm going my normal pace right now. I don't, it's not worth the ego trip to try to just keep up with them and just hope that we can drop Mark right here. I'm like, I don't think that's the right move. And then like I was like, okay, I'll lose 5-6 seconds. I'll just catch up to him on this next run, and we'll all enter the bike at the same point. And now it's everyone's starting at zero, and I've got a little bit more juice at this point. And then they just destroyed me on the bike, and I was like, okay, I'm just sticking at 72, 73 RPMs. I'm gonna get this done in like a minute 15 on the screen, and then you're plus 10 seconds or so with the transitions. But once they got off with 50 seconds, 45 seconds, I could hear Jeff screaming on the microphone. I was like, this is bad, but I'm like, don't give up. You've got a plan. I even said that to the guy on the camera, OCR, I forget his name. I've talked to him several times, but he was like, you got to go now. That's the podium. You're losing 15, 20 seconds. And I'm like, it's part of the plan. Like I cannot go fast right now if I want to have a good second half of the race.
Yeah, it's good trust. It's good trust, and like being able to have that last third and still move forward where so many people are just moving backwards in that. It's a great race. It's hard to do.
So you guys have done this now enough. Where is the line? Track, it's somewhere between 600 and 150 to go, depending on the athlete in the race, where you can just say, I'm close enough that we just crank it up. We hit the NOS, we throw on the throttle, and from here, it's all gas, no brakes. People like to say that, but you can't race that way. It just comes due. It's a 30-minute race. There's no way. It's 10K. So where is that point where you can just safely say, from here on out, you can work as hard as you want on the stations. Go for it.
Rich is a world champ. I'll let him chime in.
I'm rusty, but I was thinking probably the dead ball.
That was
in terms of like the
if you have energy on that, you're closing hard.
Yeah, because you get to the sled, and like it's gonna suck either way, and there's only a certain amount you can put out on it, and your breathing kind of can come back. It just is gonna be a bit of a beat down on your legs. So I think, dead balls, if you can go, you can get, Jack, were you under a minute for that? You were, right?
59, yeah.
Yeah, if you can get under a minute there and just like hustle.
Isaac was 57, so I was like, okay, that was a good split. Because he's insane.
Jeremiah was doing, he actually asked me about this one time about like
laps,
doing the circles around it.
Really?
Yeah, I guess you didn't go back and watch, but he was he would set it and he wouldn't like step backwards and around. He would just keep his forward moving.
Yeah.
So he's circling it. And it seemed like it took a little bit long. And he was trying to position it in a place where it would make sense for it to be. He would kind of like go diagonal behind his shoulder. Yeah. But yeah, you just took so much time from him there.
It was interesting watching. And Braden's with me, and he's like obviously in the karting world right now, so he's all about shaving tenths. Like that's all he's looking at, and he's counting your steps versus counting his, and it's clear to him that you're moving quicker and repping quicker with less effort. But what Jeremiah's look like is that would work if you had perpetual motion. If you could pick it up while moving and go, because the back and forth sucks because you have to stop, plant, reverse momentum. But if you could just keep momentum going, the extra steps would be worth it. But you get tired and you stop and pick it up and then you just have extra steps to do. So you're not gaining anything if you have to fully stop. Like I think a Megiddo could do it, because Megiddo seems to pick that thing
Just
up
pick
like
it up
it's
with your
weightless.
hands, yeah, and just move
Yeah.
it.
I think
So
if it
there's
was half
something
as
there.
wide, if the wall was half as wide, I think that would be actually be a pretty solid strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you were just like freaking hauling, but otherwise 3 steps, 4 maximum, and never miss a beat, I think is the route.
I think I took 4 on all of them. It's pretty hard to do with 3 because you have to
3
get both.
requires a crossover.
Yeah, I was gonna say it because yeah, you'd be crossing over your body, and at that point I'm not coordinated enough
Too
that
fatigued.
deep into the race. Yeah.
Yeah, he gave back everything that he gained on you. It was about 30 seconds on just the air
Okay.
bike that he gained on you. You took 2 seconds back on that run, and 27 seconds on the dead balls.
Mhm.
Right. So
And he
just
might have been
like
gassed a little bit also
Totally.
from the air bike.
exactly.
But yeah,
It wasn't
sure.
it wasn't just that he was circling. He was
yeah,
tight.
yeah.
And that's just a testament to it, like that you were able to keep moving forward and still had some juice.
You
Yeah.
can get miserable picking the dead ball up, but you can't trash yourself the way you can on the bike. So
Nope.
if you had to
Right.
spot someone 30 seconds on one versus the other, like, you chose the energy efficient route.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dead balls are it's mostly about effort at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I was feeling it in my hamstrings, like driving up pretty quickly. Felt like, sort of a clean motion just to get it up really quickly. But
It's an interesting point in the race. And again, maybe I'm speaking out of pocket because I've only done a strong in sims, but you can feel what you feel. And everything up until that point has a cost for what comes next. But dead ball, like you said, is effort, and you feel destroyed, but you can run after that effort. And it's hamstring and lower back and a little bit of grip. And you don't need that anymore. And then the sled push and pull is all quad. It's a little bit of calf, and you don't need that anymore. Pulling backwards is like the huge limiter on the sleds, because if you walk back with it and try to shuffle run, that VMO area just gets rocked, but you don't need that anymore. And then burpees are all effort. So all 3 stations feel like impending death, but you don't need those body parts anymore after that. But it almost doesn't matter because you're so out of juice at that point. So it's interesting to watch how people go about respecting that pain or disrespecting that pain.
do you want to know what I actually took a little bit of inspiration on for when I was falling behind? I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Lauren Weeks a couple weeks ago, when she went like too flat on the air bike, and still she ran so fast out of there and had so much juice afterwards. And I know that the 25 calories typically for women, it's going to be 30 plus seconds slower than most of the men just because of the power output required. But I was like, if she ran really fast afterwards and she still had to put in the effort for that, I could probably have some juice if I'm holding back a little bit. And I think that seeing her do that was actually pretty encouraging. I was thinking of that on the bike.
That's a good point. The fan bike matters. So you can put such a gap there. It's one of the few stations where a real gap can occur. But the cost is so high. Like there are some people, like a Ryland, for example, that seems to be able to hammer that and run off of it.
Yeah.
But very few people can do both.
I would not have been able to get away with that in a mile or strong. Fit, I was able to because there were 10 minutes left. But if there were 4 to 5 minutes left in either of those events at most, no way I would have been able to get away with that.
All right, let's move along to the results on the men's side. So Isaac Sanderson came down again and took another W, 30-13, considerably slower than
32 seconds slower.
Yeah, than his time. What was that? 2 weeks ago.
SoCal? 2 weeks.
Went out hot.
And
that was intentional.
I believe it.
That's the thing, right? And that's what I figured he was coming to do. Like, and I don't believe that this works, especially in DEKAFIT. If you have the same fitness and you run a good race and you're like, if I just go out a little bit hotter, maybe I can almost like bank time is kind of the idea. And it just doesn't work in DEKA. Like the same way that I don't think it would necessarily work in, what is a good example of that? Like could you do that in like a 5K or 10K? If you're like, I'm going to run the first 2 miles faster so that I can get a better time at the end.
Or an ultra. You can't bank it in the first 10 miles. World's toughest.
A marathon, right?
You kill it up a hill in a trail run, and then you're like, okay, I'll suffer a little on the downhill, but I've banked enough time, and now I'm good. Well, so, Isaac, I was talking with him, and it sounded more like he wanted to get into the feeling of what the second half of High Rocks is going to feel like as soon as he could, and that was kind of
Yeah,
his
it's
plan
not.
because he's got the last chance qualifier in a
It's
couple
just not
weeks.
gonna. It's just not gonna happen doing a DEKAFIT.
It's
Yeah.
not, but I do like the idea that he felt what going out hard feels like.
Yeah.
Like that. Sometimes that's it. Like Rich, you felt it and then you PR'd.
Mhm.
And we've had people recently do that. You feel it once, you pop, and then you PR. So you're right. You can't feel that dead, like fully depleted thing from a strength standpoint, but you can feel the consequence of high intensity, and maybe that's enough.
You have to ride the line in DEKA. Like if you go over it, like you will then learn where your line is and what you should not do. So it's not like a wasted effort. But and if he did say he wanted, like that was the purpose, to go out and try to hurt early, then he probably accomplished that. But to come out and be like, oh, I could do this better if I just went faster, it's just like it doesn't really work that way with
It's
that
a hard
guy.
event to do that in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now's the time to do that, though. If that was in his mind, now's the time. And I love it with Anaheim coming up because that first K in ski, it's going to be really hard not to try to rep match people. So I
And
do
you're gonna have
like mentally that he felt it.
Yeah, you're gonna have monsters like Colin Stiefer and Marcus Wallace on that ski erg who can run the opening K with anybody, and they're good runners even after that. But he's probably gonna fall behind a little bit and have to suffer to kind of stick with the pack. So I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
His running, I just want to give him a compliment. While I was watching this, I thought this is what evolved running looks like. He looks cleaner than he looked in the past running. Not that he ever looked bad running, but he just looks cleaner. He looks like a college runner when he's running now who picked up DEKAFIT. You know, he just
Yeah.
looks fast. He's
He
got
does.
that nice lean. He's got really good heel drive. His arms are compact, and you can tell when someone's been running a lot with how their arms move, whether it's just a practice motion or not. And the whole race, I was just watching him going, man, this guy looks the part.
He looks great. He looks great. And he looks really smooth. And maybe that was what he's thinking too. Like his SoCal was so smooth. Didn't look like there was much effort. It looked like he was shutting down a bit toward the back end of this one because he
Just tried closed up.
He just tried to close up a little bit.
But it wasn't like pull back, flail close. It stayed pretty and compact. It just shrunk. And that's a good sign.
Yeah, so he's in a great spot right now. I'm really excited to see what he does do in that last chance qualifier. That's not this weekend, but next weekend. Teaser. We're going to be talking about that
Next week. It's going to be a good week.
In second place for the second race in a row, Glenn Race. Again, his time was also about 30 seconds slower. What was the intel from him, Jack? Did he go out hotter, or how did his race play out versus
Glenn has a goal. He wants to break 30, and he's unfortunately just kind of in no man's land. I thought that Mark, Jeremiah, and I were going to be a little bit closer at some point, but he just got off the lunges a little, like 7-8 seconds faster than us, and at that point, he's not going to lose much time on the rower, and then he's really fast at the box jump overs. It's like he created 15-20 seconds separation on the group chasing him behind, but Isaac was also just that much faster, so he was just kind of in no man's land the whole time. But his fitness is there without question, and I think if you get a couple guys who are in 30-30 shape or so and they just want to go after it, I think that they can do some pretty good things.
What's Glenn's PR?
30-50 from Worlds.
Yeah, he's fitter than that right now, I believe.
I'd say so.
He was 30-59 in SoCal just a couple weeks ago. And that's just tough the way that the season kind of lines up for the West Coast based athletes. It's just like two races in a race where you're not going to improve that much unless you completely blow up in the first one.
Yeah.
Like if you run a good race and then 2 weeks later need to do it again, like you're probably not going to get that much better.
Yeah, and then the rest of them, you progressively start moving east, and he's got kids, and it's just going to be hard to find the time to get over there. Maybe Orlando, maybe Austin, who knows? But
Ocala,
yeah, Ocala, not Orlando.
Orlando, I wish.
Yeah.
So yeah, Glenn is currently the fourth time with his time in SoCal, so he's in a good spot with Isaac in the top spot, Colin Steve for second, Alphonse de Ruiz, Alphonse de Ryan. Should we say? He is me.
You Rich de Ruiz?
Rich de Ruiz.
Rich de Ryan.
I like it. And then Grayson Kilgore rounds out the top 5. Currently, Jack, you're going to be right around 10th.
I'm probably like, yeah, I'm a little bummed that if it seems like the courses were a little bit slow compared, like everyone was running 30 seconds or so slower. It didn't seem like a slow course. The corners were nice, and I thought my running was pretty good, and I thought I was putting out on the stations and stuff. But I think there are a bunch of people in like that 32:10, 32:15 range who are just ahead of me, and it's like, oh man, that would have been nice to have the similar results as the race before that might have been a little bit faster. So I'll have to run another race.
It's a lot of, I mean, there's 4 international athletes, 5 if you count Isaac, who would be ahead of you at this point, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's good. Any other notes on the men's side? Let's wait to talk about Paul Zine.
How'd your friend Stephen Young, how do you like it?
He had a blast.
Okay.
And just watching him though, you could tell like it's just everything was like a little slower.
Yeah, never did box jump overs before. You can tell, and
he did them, but
yeah,
not
those
the way
those ramp
everyone else
burpees
does.
were a little out of his comfort zone. Yeah,
and like he got called back on the lunges right away, so he's behind. And then like even like the sit ups, it's like, oh, okay, like he's just not doing it how everybody does it, and it's his first race, so there is definitely a learning curve when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
There were a
figure that all out.
couple guys at the start line who were like, "Oh, I know who you are now," and he's like, "That was like 7-8 years ago. I'm not a 4 miler anymore. Just don't worry about me." And they're like, "I don't know. If I'm ahead of you, I'm going too fast." But
When I was talking to him, he's like, "Yeah, that was like 8 years ago." I'm like, "You're fine. You're good to go. Everyone else stinks."
yeah.
Talent never leaves.
Right. So yeah, he'll be back. He's going to be doing New York High Rocks, which he's
cool.
excited about. So yeah, just the first one. You know, he was 37 something, finished like 10th, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Always good seeing new people, and we saw someone new in the women's race.
Yeah. Katie D'Ambrosia
Oh yeah.
ran an amazing race, really smart. And she looked the part, like she kind of put herself out there in the beginning, and I saw that like her running, and I was like, she looks like a runner, right? Like she looks like she's running really well in that first part. Where did she kind of get, like, where did the separation happen between her and Jess?
Jessica Caviglia, that's how you say her name, instead of Caviglia. But anyway, Caviglia, like Italian.
You were saying Caviglia. You were pronouncing it all.
Everybody was.
Who's everybody? Jet, not me, not BK.
I never pronounced it.
Not
a lot
once.
of people
Never
have
said
been
it.
all right, I'm watching the tapes. We'll see about this. But yeah, I definitely
for sure
got it.
did.
I got it
No
wrong
way.
before.
If whatever Jack says, I'm saying it different, no matter what.
Rich, how are you gonna say that?
I got it. Don't worry about it.
But anyway, I remember Jessica probably had 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds at the air bike at that point.
Did you guys just hear volume drop, or am I having a stroke?
Potential
Definitely a
stroke.
stroke. Yeah, 100%.
Oh boy,
Yeah, you better.
I lost like 50%.
One time I had some compacted earwax, and that happened. It happened like,
Yeah, but I'm not gross.
Yeah.
how do you
That's definitely a hygiene
how do you
issue.
you got yourself like a water gun, a water pick, getting that
A
out
water
of
pick
there?
in my ears?
That's how do you clean your ears?
That seems
Not
like
a
a
water
bad
pick.
choice.
That's how they
like
got it. That's how they got it out of there.
High pressure. No, they have like a little
You had
squirt
an ear
bottle.
bidet?
Huh?
You had an ear
An
bidet?
ear bidet.
You use a bidet on your ears,
And they knocked it out. Yeah, just head on the toilet. They just and it was great. They just went in there, blasted it out. Those came out. It was like a.
But it's not like a condensed stream like a water pick. That's like you're asking to
Like a
do
neti
some
pot?
damage that
Just in one ear and out the other?
way. Yeah.
I went to urgent care and they shot in some water. It wasn't like they like dripped water in there. There was like boom, and like a nickel-sized thing of earwax came out.
Like, sir, you need to clean yourself more often. Your
Not supposed to-
personal hygiene is very Philadelphia.
Yeah.
What do you do to clean your ears? You using Q-tips?
Every
Oh,
day,
that's bad.
Q-tip after every shower.
Q-tips not supposed to be the. That's how I got it plugged in there. I pushed it in.
Yeah. You don't use Q-tips.
Well, I mean, I don't use it like a plunger.
What do you just like?
What do you just
top?
press a Q-tip
Yes.
in your ear?
Yeah, a little twist and twirl.
Q-tips. You're not supposed to use Q-tips.
What
That's
am I
how I
supposed
got
to
it
do then?
compacted.
Water pick now?
Water
I'm gonna-
pick.
And drown my eardrums / perforate them?
If you're an ear doctor, let us know who's correct.
Yeah,
Jack,
who's
how do
your
you
ENT?
clean your ears?
All right. So as a guy who uses a lot of sunscreen and stuff,
Gotta
I've
be careful.
definitely got the
feel like
Gotta,
you're using
gotta
it wrong.
clean that. Yeah. No, basically what I do is
Jack
I
will
take
burn anywhere. Jack will burn his
Yeah.
eardrums.
Another cochlea burn.
Yeah. No, I'm talking the outside of it, dummy. But I'll go.
I'm the dummy. I've never had a sewage backup of sunscreen
Sewage backup.
in my ear.
Rich is the one with a sewer in his ear, but yeah.
It's out. It's gone now.
I'll take a washcloth and kind of like, just use that and just rub as I need to.
How
That
wide
can-
is your ear canal?
I'm talking
You're not
the
supposed to
outer
stick something
edges
in
of
your ear canal.
this part, not in there. This part of it. Yeah.
I don't think that's where the wax buildup.
I know. You said, how do you clean your ears? You didn't say, how do you clean your inner ears?
When I say how do you wipe your butt, no one assumes I'm talking about the cheeks. We all know it's the exit.
Shit. I have no comeback. Yeah.
Come
The
on.
Bracky Crocker Comedy Hour, everybody.
Shazam.
We're just talking about science here. This is
Yeah,
a
Bracken was
scientific
watching that roast
conversation.
ahead of time. He's ready.
It looks
Oh
all
my
right.
goodness.
Back to DEKAFIT. It looks like she lost a lot of time on that second run.
She,
Katie
meaning
D'Ambrosio.
Jessica?
Katie D'Ambrosio.
Katie D'Ambrosio, yeah.
Because it
I
says
was
like
probably still collapsed
gap
to the
is what
ground
it
at that
is, right?
point. Yeah.
Like on that when I'm looking at the results, like here, let's close up really fast.
Yeah. You got to share.
I share.
And we had people over.
Cute.
So I ended up watching Jack's race and bouncing. So I didn't watch the women's race this time.
Dang.
This is on me, guys.
With
This is
that
on me.
with that
That's
Pacific,
that was a fantastic race.
that was a great race.
Like it was so exciting in person. No, Rich. So what likely happened? Cumulative is who's leading. So she was actually leading at that point. Ram burpee, she was 3.9 seconds behind the leader, and then after that, she basically led till the end.
but
She did.
That's not the-
Oh, I know what happened. It's because of Jessica's time is no longer on there, so that's
right.
why.
That's what I was asking. Like when?
Yeah.
When did she? How did she get gapped?
And the 33.7, someone's timing chip clearly tripped it, and she's not. No one's doing a 125 on the row.
Okay, that makes sense. So she
Her
ran a great
runs were
race,
good.
and it was right when she needed to. She got it into the Ram burpees. I guess like 2 burpees behind
Mhm.
Jess, and ended up crossing the finish line before her. So her time of 35:36 is solid, right? That would have gotten her right around 10th or 11th
she's
at
in the- I
Worlds
was gonna say-
last year.
Better than teens, I'd say, right around 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good spot to be in this early in the season as your first race. She probably has a minute and change, you know?
Do you know why she signed up?
Why'd you sign up?
So I saw Shannon Payne and she was cheering her on. I'm like, clearly she knows her. And apparently like a week ago, I think Monday or Tuesday, she just came into a gym to do some cross training and just Shannon was there and she just whooped everybody. And Shannon's like, you have to try this thing this weekend. You might as well. And so she does it. And she's like, oh, I already have an ultra that I'm running like 14, 15 miles to pace someone at noon. But I'll do this in the morning. So she left the event and then she ran more than a half marathon to pace someone after. She did a really
Classic
good ultra runner.
Rogowski.
It's a Rogowski move.
It is. Maybe we're seeing the next one. I was like, she better get to Fort Wayne. That is her event. DEKA Ultra.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's gonna be good at it.
They're paying out for that, right?
Yeah. Yep. And we saw this week. So she just got $1,000 right there from NorCal. Just doesn't even know what it is 5 days before, and then ends up whooping everybody at the end. Not
Okay.
whooping everybody, but having a good performance.
Sidebar here.
Yeah.
Who do you think is, if you had to, what's your archetype for the type of athlete that actually will be good at Fort Wayne? Like, how much does
Dylan?
ultra experience matter here?
Not a lot. It's not an ultra event.
I think,
Don't you think?
it's going to matter more. So
think
she
so.
also does CrossFit, apparently, like lightly does it. So she's not just a pure runner who can sort of survive the machines. I think she's going to do better than we expect.
Because it's
We're talking 25K, right?
25K. So it's
You think
5
they can average
decas.
35s for the guys?
I'm looking
or
at
what?
it more at the time domain. This is probably going to be like a 3 hour 20 event for the men and probably like 340-ish for the women. I think that having that endurance of lasting a marathon plus, even if it's a lot of cross training or not cross training, but zones in the middle of that, I think that it's going to favor endurance a little bit more.
I might choose a high rocks athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Dylan's not an ultra athlete. He trains to the volume of one.
This is a workout for
He doesn't do 12-hour races, you know,
No.
he doesn't do 8-hour races. But someone like that who was putting in a like
High
Meg would
volume,
be
high
fine.
rocks.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, like Meg would smash that. I don't know. It's a good question because
I
yeah,
just
doing
think we
it.
might be overrating the ultra aspect of it outside of a Isaac or a Bubbles or someone or like a Chris who has ultra experience, but also is already a monster at it. I don't think
Yeah.
someone's going to raise their DEKA game up more than like a half a notch or a notch by having ultra in their background. I don't think you're going to see people go from top 15 to top 5 simply because it's 5 of them. I don't believe that.
Here's a counter argument, Bracken. She just won a race and would have got 10th at Worlds last year. Clearly, how many people ahead of her have like the skill set that you'd be like, that an ultra event might actually suit them better? Because some people, like if we look at Alondra Greenleaf, for instance, like, is she going to do well in a 3-hour event compared to someone who might be able to handle that? Like, Alondra is going to be a beast in the machine. She can definitely survive for 70 minutes faster in high rocks, but I don't know if she's necessarily going to be designed for an event like this.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a mix throughout the top 10, but she put down a really fast time in her debut.
I'm saying, I'm not talking about her. I think she's a candidate for it because she's already good at DEKA. What I'm saying is there's not like some 100K person out there who's mid-pack at DEKA that's suddenly going to be a contender. I think it's going to be the top 10 people already who happen to also be good at ultras. Like I think Lauren Weeks would crush.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen her anything longer than an hour.
Spartan Games.
We've seen her
with like Lindsay and.
That's true.
Yeah, she did a 50K there. She's run her beasts and supers in Utah.
Oh, yeah, she has done those.
Maybe Big Bear.
That's true.
So, yeah, someone like that who they're not an ultra runner, but they have it in them. I would favor over an ultra runner who has a DEKA in them.
Yeah,
it's like a 50. I think like 50K. Someone who's awesome at like 50K, like Mark Audette, because he can
even a marathoner.
Do both.
Oh god, that would be nasty. Yep,
marathoner. Yeah. Anyway, in second place, Michelle Navarro and Julie Best was in third. They were basically
1 second apart, maybe
exact time. Julie had a really strong burpee to really kind of close that gap, but Michelle seemed to be kind of by herself for a lot of that race, and she was right around. They're both 36:58, which is not their fastest times, but still ahead of schedule from where they've been in previous years. So they're both in good spots and should be in pretty good contention to get into that, whatever it's going to be, top 10, 15, 20 when it comes.
They both raced the Worlds last year, were top 15. Like they're veterans of doing DEKA. Always pretty similar to each other. And yeah, it was very interesting because Julie was probably a minute slower on the 5K, but her zones, you could just tell she was putting out work. I know she's been training with Rylan, and that's kind of how he races. So whatever, she's mimicking her race style after how he does it, I think.
Puts them right around where you are, Jack, between 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah. For now.
So they're in a good position for a race this early in the season.
Yeah.
So great to see some new blood out there and someone doing well. It's hard to do well in these races, and she seemed to pace herself pretty well. That's Katie D'Ambrosia. So definitely excited to see what she has in the future for these events. Since it was her first one, I'm not sure how committed, she will be, if she's going to go. She probably isn't going to need to go anywhere else. But yeah, that's any other notes on the women's side?
I mean, it was just a great burpee off, just like the men's race. You had third place come down to 1 second or less. So watch the videos if you haven't seen it yet, basically.
You just want to talk about your race again?
No.
Just want to
we're gonna soon.
You deserve it. You've earned it.
You got 100 seconds to talk about it, and now no more.
I've got 80 next time. Yeah.
You had a Hybrid Fitness Media rank you as the second best hybrid athlete on this podcast.
That's pretty good.
I mean, argue yourself into second place, Bracken.
No, I'm done with that.
Okay.
I haven't run an individual race long enough that I can't even defend it.
Yeah.
I will. I'm not gonna.
Your description from Matt is doubles only, holds the bag wrong. Mine was podium, but barely. So
Yeah.
pretty accurate.
It's all true.
Yeah.
All
There's
true.
no lies spoken there.
And then Kirk was fourth, may not have heard of DEKA. And obviously Rich is number one.
Number one. Let's talk about the controversies of this race. We can't not. How long have we been going? We've been going almost 40 minutes, I guess.
40 minutes or so, yeah.
Not even talking about the
We
controversy.
waited long enough. So now 40 minutes of this. Go.
So there were two pretty high profile disqualifications in within this race, and we're just gonna kind of talk about what happened and just our takes on what they are. We got the rule book up. Actually, speaking of hyper fitness media, MBD asked me one time if I read the rules of these races, and I said, yeah. He's like, before every race? I said, no, absolutely not. I read it once, then I do the race, and I just understand. So there has been some amendments to the rule book, I believe, this year in terms of how you are supposed to leave two of the zones that have the rams, recycle and move cylinders, right? Cylinders?
Yeah.
Nailing it. I'm
Can't be.
smashing right now.
Rich in his geometry.
I'm just
It's
crushing.
amazing. Yeah.
So we saw both Mark Paulzine, who was finishing right with our boy Jack, and Jessica
All
Viglia.
right. I'm going to open us up to
Caviglia.
YouTube criticism right away. Doesn't a cylinder have to be hollow?
No.
I don't
Why
know.
would it?
I thought there was
No.
an empty volume component to it.
He's like, it's like a ZD. The cylinder I always thought was like a ZD.
Yeah, toilet paper roll.
Like
Toilet paper roll is
rigatoni.
hollow.
That's a cylinder.
What do you think that back in the day they're like, all right, we're gonna call this toilet paper roll a cylinder? Yeah,
What's
no,
it called if it's filled in?
I don't
cylinder.
know. I taught special ed.
I could tell.
We
All
didn't
right,
get to volume.
Bracken. Let's
and
say you
3D
have
shapes.
let's say you have a basketball or a baseball.
Mhm.
Both of those are essentially spheres.
I know what a sphere is. I don't know what a cylinder
I'm
is.
saying one of them is not full, the other one is.
I didn't know, according to you, that a cylinder is the same type of shape classification as a sphere.
All right. Well, this is
I
why
thought a
you're
cylinder was an open-ended tube.
this is why you're third place in the rankings.
Well, Jack, you stink at geometry.
I'd love to delete this out.
I think
but
of geometry.
You
Okay.
got nothing in the geometry.
And now, well, yeah,
can't-
you introduced
can't
us to the
s-
shape today.
If you can't
I got a
stick,
D plus in college math, college algebra.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got to.
I may have gotten about that too. I can't believe they made us take that shit in college. I was like, I did this in high school.
Shit.
Yeah, I already proved
am I
I'm not
doing
good
this
at this in
again?
high school. Like,
Yeah. And
I have to pay you
and they-
$1,200 to do it again.
Right. They pushed me through.
I'm gonna do
then they're like,
worse.
"Oh, do it again. Yeah. Yeah, Jack, you can't stick a cylinder into a spreadsheet, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I could. You could
I
actually
remember.
draw them with the insert shape tool. So.
Can't with no formula, can't drag it and drop it. So
I have regrets.
let's talk about Mark first, I suppose. So he
First race. Yeah.
give us, I guess, just what happened, Jack.
All right. So at the end of the day, I got into the burpees like 3-4 seconds behind Mark. He had a 2 burpee lead on me by the time that I did my first burpee. We're both going, each have our own judge. Glenn is in the middle of us. He has his own judge. I think Glenn's judge moved out of the way after he finished at one point, and Mark ended up doing 19 total burpees, regardless of form. Some people say, definitely not full extension on some of those, but
He was getting the reps.
He attempted 19 repetitions regardless of anything, and he left basically when I did because he heard 20, and it was either the judge miscounting or him counting or him hearing my judge. Something happened where he basically heard it was 20, race brain happened, left, edged me at the finish line, but because he didn't do enough repetitions, they ended up saying his time didn't count, and I got bumped up to third.
So there, and I guess let's pull up the rule book then too, because I have it up. And so what Mark would have done, because he did set down the ram, it like fell. He didn't like launch it.
Yeah.
Right. So him doing 19 is him not completing a zone, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So that was what the disqualification would have been on his end because he just didn't completely.
It was 19 up and downs, regardless of full extension, what anybody wants to interpret. That was the issue with him.
He was a rep shy, which meant non-completion, which is an automatic disqualification.
It would be like doing 490 meters on the rower and calling it a day. It's like you didn't finish it fully. That's how they interpreted it.
Correct.
All right, let's pull up because we're reading the rule book today. And it's going to be boring.
Watch this before bed.
4.1, 4.11, under 4.13a. Where am I? General rules and penalties. Nope, 4.2. So this is riveting stuff.
So they have separate rules for strong, mile versus fit.
Okay, so let's actually go back up to the Rambert because this is where the problem was. So for under Article 3.10, 3.10.
No, that's 3.10.
3.10, 10, same as 10. Let's see. The last rep is counted once the weight is placed back onto the ground. If the competitor throws or drops the weight during the process of completing the last rep, the rep will not be counted until the weight is returned to a starting position.
Starting location.
Location. So I guess that's what we're looking at because it's supposed to be 20 reps using proper weight outlined above. Competitors complete 20 reps in the zone. And that is then when you move down into the penalties part. What did I say that was? 4.1? 4.3?
4.2.
4.2 under DEKA.
It was just above.
4.23.
Yeah, there you DEKAFIT 4.2.2.
4.2.2a, or any competitor who fails to complete a DEKA zone as outlined in Section 3, so that would be the amount of reps that you did, the 20. Competitor will have their timing chip removed. Competitor will be considered an unofficial finisher and will not receive or it will not result in being submitted on the global leaderboard. Competitor will receive their finishing shirt, medal, and trifecta wedge, which is great.
Because we want you to come back.
You need to fix this trifecta.
You did not finish, but we're going to tell you did because we don't want to lose money.
You got to go out there and market for us. So basically what happened to Mark, he finished 19. And that resulted in him not completing the zone. So he was then his timing chip was removed. He did not count as an official finisher. I think that this
is the volunteer's fault. Yes.
Well, yes. And like, should we saw?
I was going to say pull that up again because there was one other thing that I wanted to mention on that.
Okay, then we can kind of get into it.
Yeah.
What else?
Read just below the C. So that the last two lines on page 16 right there. Any competitor who completes all 10 DEKA zones, so completes all 10 DEKA zones, meaning they do the number of reps, but fails to complete DEKA zones in order, starting with 1, finishing 10, blah, blah, will receive a 1-minute penalty for each violation. So that specifically says completes all 10 zones. And then the next bullet point says any competitor who doesn't complete the running distance, misses a lap, gets a 1-minute penalty. And then the section after that doesn't complete the amount of running, they get a 5-minute or a 3-minute, depending on the course setup. It doesn't say anything about failing to complete the number of reps with the DQ right there.
Right. There's no penalty for the reps. If you don't complete the reps, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
Which I suppose, what separates these two things then? Like if you're going to get a penalty for coming into a zone early or like missing a lap.
They remedied it is what happened.
So this
There's
says
no
you can
remedy
make it
for non-completion.
You can't go back into the station and do the last rep or the last 10 meters or whatever.
That seems to be how it's written. You can remedy a run. You cannot remedy a rep.
Yes.
Okay. So is that just, or are there circumstances around the way the race is organized and the race is run that's kind of forcing the issue here, in particular, like the timing mats?
I'm trying to come up with a way you'd get an advantage on either. Like, I'm falling behind. I just got to get back out and stay, and I'll come back later. And I don't see an advantage. I truly don't.
Like, it's not cheating.
Yeah, because it can't help you. You're going to lose time because you have to re-enter and leave a station and start and stop. It's just there's no advantage I can find in it. The only advantage that could happen is if you decided that from like assault bike to dead balls, stacking those back to back, essentially, you're going to lose more than a minute. So you're going to skip assault bike, go dead ball, burpee, and then get your bike done when you're on fumes and can just smash it with impunity.
Right.
Could the 1 minute penalty be less than what you are going to lose over accumulated fatigue? That's the only way I could even, and I'm not saying it is, it's just like the only way I could finagle it to be an advantage would be that one scenario. So I do think it's just and allowable, but I think reps should be the same way.
Mm.
Like if you're allowed to skip a run on accident and come back and finish it, I think you should be allowed to refinish a station if you did something incorrectly. Because you're not gaining any sort of advantage from it. You're only being punished, but it allows you to do what we all want them to do, which is to complete the course.
Right.
And be a finisher. And you're going to get punished for it, but the punishment is the own punishment. I don't think we need to kick you out for what amounts to essentially a judging mistake, because the judge had from the moment he dropped it to go yell at him and get him back. And that didn't occur.
Or beforehand being like, no, 1919, like just step in there.
That I would put that on the athlete more than the judge.
It's on the athlete, but the judge is the fail-safe, and the fail-safe failed.
Yes, but like at the same time, it's like if you leave before you're told to leave, like that's still on. Even if the judge is
whoa.
well, still like
that stops a DQ.
What?
And no one's looking to DQ. We're not looking to DQ an athlete ever. We want to keep them on course.
Right.
No athlete is going to intentionally cheat. Like at this level with all the,
well, maybe.
Okay, but let me finish this
People
sentence.
have cheated DEKA already.
Let me finish the sentence. No athlete who's trying to make worlds, who has the camera on them like this, battling for, I don't think so.
Didn't we have someone who's podium to DEKA, cheetah DEKA, and cheetah high rocks already?
Potentially, but like if you're doing it with the judge right there and you're getting called for good reps, like you're not cheating.
So when I got into the zone, I could see, well, my last 5-6 seconds on the course, I was like, all right, I'm probably gonna be 2 behind. And I saw him do 2 burpees before I started, and I was kind of mentally keeping track of how far behind him I was, and then my own reps. And then I was like, okay, I closed it to 1, so he's got to be at 11 if I'm at 10. And I was keeping mental math, and then I caught up to him, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought I was 1 ahead, so I was like, that's a little weird that he's like, even though it's a split second thing, I'm like, that's a little weird that he's leaving when I am. But I was like, maybe I've just got race brain and I counted wrong. So I just assumed that the judge was correct in that case, because it's hard to count 2 at the same time anyway, even if you're not racing. But I remember that being like a little, I was like, oh, wow, he must have closed hard on that, and I just didn't realize it.
This isn't on him. Like
no.
It's partially on him that it happened, but we're in no way, shape, or form saying he did it intentionally. I lose track of my intervals on every interval workout I've ever run. Every single time. Like that's what race brain is. This is not a shot at him. The volunteer is not out of breath. The volunteer has to be on it. Has to be. And I know it's not cool to criticize a volunteer, but they have power in their hands. And if the power is not wielded correctly, then there has to be criticism of it. He shouldn't have been allowed to cross the line without someone raising a huge uproar that you got one more.
Yeah. And even if he did cross the line, because what's he, 2 seconds from the finish line? If they made a big deal about it and like he tries to slow, but he accidentally, crosses over the line, but then immediately does a U-turn right there, he's making an effort to go back. It was just the volunteer didn't alert him quickly enough at that point. I wouldn't have had an issue with that at all if he went back.
Because you still would have got 3rd. But yeah, that's the question, right? Like we saw Kate Davey do that at High Rocks, in Cologne, crossed the finish line at 99 reps of wall balls. They went and got her. Be like, no, you need one more. She ran back out, did one more.
Perfect example.
Came back across, and it was like there was no penalty assessed because like she lost a lot of time.
No harm, no foul.
Really, no harm, no foul. So that should have been. I feel like that should have been how this played out.
Yeah.
But according to the rules, he did not complete. The station didn't go back, or no one like alerted him to do that, and so like
there's the correct penalty.
It was the correct penalty way that's written in the rules for sure.
Yeah,
it sucks.
The difference between the two was the judge. I know this is harsh, but the High Rocks judge, the moment she left, you could see on film, and there an uproar
making
happened.
A scene. Yeah.
Ran up, grabbed her, get back. That didn't occur. We didn't know for what, 40 minutes or something.
I gave an interview at like 20 minutes later, and I still wasn't aware that once we crossed the line, a couple people were like, hey, I think he did 19. Maybe they're going to do something about it. But there was no like discussion at that point. And then I was on the OCR report doing an interview with Sandra and Luke. And then they were like, hey, they're debating it. I guess they might end up giving you third if something happens. Just stay tuned. But it took over 20 minutes to make a decision.
They were talking about it because they thought he was doing poor reps, which to me
was the case.
Yeah, but like,
but it has to be in the moment.
Yes, you cannot
we can't go to the booth.
reps. No way, absolutely not.
If your judge does
non-starter.
if your judge does not give you a no rep, you are doing an acceptable thing in that present moment right there.
Yes.
Even if
on
they're
the
not,
judge. Yeah,
even if
they've been cleared.
They're cleared. Yes, what the officials have said is legal. You cannot go back and be like, oh, that person did bad reps, we should review it.
Yeah.
No.
So I rewatched the video, and I remember this happening, and my third and fourth reps, Mark Jones was right behind me. He's like, you got to do full extension. You got to all the way up. And I thought I was, but him saying that right behind me, I would say every rep after that, I was doing full extension. But hearing that, I got a warning and I instantly changed it. But I don't think that anyone did that for Mark. So why would he have changed what he was doing if it seemed acceptable in the moment?
Right.
And again, I'm going to refer back to what we said prior. And this is again, coming from like the classroom side of me, is you never want to have to kick the kid out. You never want to have to suspend the kid. You never want to have to expel the kid. Like if that happens, safeguards were missed along the way. The protocol broke down. You never want to have to DQ someone or penalize them either, which all comes down to in the moment rep or no rep. That avoids all of this. And so if he's not, like for example, his reps were not locking out for a lot of them, especially in the second half. And there were 2 or 3 other gentlemen on camera who were doing even worse. One person I was looking, I thought, man, he's barely clearing his head, let alone locking out. But no words were spoken. And so he is above the law. If you can't handle it in the moment, it is on you. If you go back later and punish them, that's gotcha. We're not looking to get anyone. It must be in the moment or you're fined. Absolutely. You cannot go to the film in this sport. It's a horrible precedent.
Yes.
And then you have spectators coming up with their angle of it where it looks different. And we're going to get that with High Rocks reps, where from one angle on a camera, your hip crease is not below your knee. And on the other angle, it looks fine. Like we cannot open up video replay. We just cannot.
And this was a question that Patreon member and one of the guys who's pushing the sport forward, Jason Dupree, sent to us, like, should we be able to use video review in this sport? And so BK seems pretty clear that like, no, it doesn't. That's not helpful in terms of in the long term. And I think in general,
not for reps, at least.
Right.
Video review for did I cross the timing mat? Like we can't find you out here. Here's a video of me crossing the mat. Great. Video review of on-course incidents. Yeah.
So
sure.
I believe that's what happened with Jess. So Jess Caviglia was also disqualified. And the way that it was kind of presented, it was because she dropped the ram or threw the ram. But according to these rules, that would count as a no rep. It wasn't because the ram went flying and that's an instant DQ. That's just a no rep. And she needs to fix that to get the considered rep. So she did 20, but because she dropped it from the top, that was an incomplete rep. So she did like 19 and a half reps. So she ended up with the same exact penalty and disqualification as Mark. Only Mark did literally 19 and she did 20, but dropped the ram, and that doesn't count.
19 and 3/4.
19 and 3/4. And so like both of these, and we'll touch on it later, but so I believe they went and they were like looking at it. And I think I believe Nelson was the race director there, and they showed her. They showed her the rule book. They showed her the video, and according to the rules, it's correct, right? But they were also using the video to be like, okay, here's where you dropped it, and here's the ram rolling around, like not set up properly. And I think that was kind of Jason's question, like, is that appropriate to do to like to review penalties, I guess, in the like, but does that open a door to then penalize people retroactively? If you're going to review the video to see if they to like back up a penalization, can they then not open that up to then penalize people later?
How often do you see like a day after a basketball game or football, they're like, oh, we missed that travel at the end, we missed pass interference. Like they own up to missing it, but they're not like, hey, the Saints actually won. Sorry, Rams. You know, you don't change the outcome of it. That's the precedent in other sports.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it doesn't matter what I think, but it's our podcast, so I'm thinking.
Yeah.
My thoughts are that I only want video review for things that are outside of the station. Course infractions and conduct infractions. Things where there isn't a judge position there to see it, but if something egregious happens, we got to know about it. But for reps itself, like what happens in the station stays in the station. If you are repped cleanly, you are free to pass and we cannot catch you later. And if after the fact we see bad video, but like you weren't called on it, it's not on you. We missed it. It sucks for everyone around you, but it just has to be what it is. I think video review can improve a sport for safety concerns and for egregious calls. But in the moment calls have to be let go. Judgment calls have to be let go. Instead, we have to put our energy into making sure that the standards are good and that the volunteers know what they're doing and that things like tip a potentially warped ram upright to finish a rep is just not a thing.
No,
I think
like maybe it's resting on dumbbells and you put it down on like a holder of some sort where you rest it or you place it down and it can't bounce. But like, I don't think like mine has a little bit of a leftward lilt to it, gentlemen. And if depending on which side you put up, it doesn't want to stand super great.
You got that ram back?
I got it back from Devo.
Went back and got him.
I walked up and said, "Excuse me, sir.
Did the
My mom said I had to come ask you something." He said, "Lift your chin up and talk to me like a man."
My mama's chain.
Look me in the eye. I said, "No, thank you."
I'm glad that you got
anyway,
that back.
it's a bad rep ender because A, it bounces, B, it can be warped, C, because it's a recycled material, there's no standard into how it's situated in there. Like there are ram, like mine now has a hole in it and there's a little cavity behind the hole. It's not even. It's not perfectly weighted. It's not meant to be. That I just don't like that. Let's just make it so that we can't accidentally have penalties given out.
You can't.
I think place it flat, that's less of a risk than if you have it and it'll tip over because then it can bounce a little bit more. If you just place it flat,
bring it back to the ground.
Yeah.
Or take it across the line.
Bring it across.
Like that's not the worst. That's no dumber than Jenga.
Yeah, and then you're already at 20, and then you could just put it on your shoulder.
Well, not one shoulder.
Two shoulders.
Two? Gotta do two.
Keep it.
How about just hold it above your arms as you cross the line, full extension.
You got to run another 250 with it. Then make it real. Just get Spartan all up in here even more because this is the most Spartan thing that's happened to DEKA, I think.
I think that. So when I was doing burpees and throughout some of the zones, there are some judges who I would hear, even though they weren't like judging me necessarily. They knew some of the athletes' names. They were saying, "Good job, Jack. Good job, Mark," whoever. And I think that those are the judges, especially in like the controversial zones. Like everyone's going to row exactly 500 meters. Everyone's going to do 25 calories on the air bike. There are certain ones where judgment is actually required. And those are the judges. If they know who the athletes are, they're clearly paying attention as opposed to I'm here because of some volunteer thing or I'm not even familiar with the sport, but I just want a free race code for later in the day. Those people aren't as involved or invested in the sport. I think that you need the people who know and are familiar with the movements to be the ones who are given priority to the final judging or some of those controversial ones. Just rotate 4 or 5 people because usually there are enough gaps throughout the races. You saw it. Like Isaac is done before I'm even there. Glenn's halfway done. You can just shift them between the two of them. Like I think that you need to have the people who know what they're doing, the handful, just specifically designed for those. And once World comes around, make sure you have adequate judges, not just locals who just want to show up for a regular race. But I think that this can be solved because most of the local races, especially the times that are going to get you into Worlds, it's only 5 to 10 people, and they have probably 40, 50 volunteers during the briefing throughout the stations. Just pick a few who really know what they're doing and follow them.
Or just put them at the stations that matter. You can have
Yeah.
a vegetable at the row in the ski, in the assault bike. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need them on extension. And that's pretty much it. Farmers carry, you don't need a real judge.
No. Yeah.
So farmers carry, Jessica actually brought this up as a good point. People, when they're done with the farmers carry, they just launch it. They just basically slide the barbells across instead of go up to the zone and drop it and place it in like the taped
First of all,
orange
dumbbells,
section.
Jack.
Two barbells.
My bad.
Crazy.
Second of all,
that guy's going nuts.
Race brain.
That's bad setup rather than bad judging. There should not ever be a stack of weights that you just have to get them inside of a taped off area. A line of weights, sure. A rack of weights, sure. A pile of weights, I just don't. I think that's asking for problems.
Just throw them shits.
But yeah, she was saying if Ram can bounce, what can happen if people are just sliding or just dropping a bunch of dumbbells?
Well, and handing back to that same, we saw it happen. What's his name? Our resident triathlete. Why am I blanking on his name?
Max Fennel.
Oh, he just raced. Yeah, Max. So Max came in and was impeded by someone coming back out. Might have even been you, Jack.
Been me. I remember crossing past with him. Yeah.
Get big, son.
Wasn't intentional.
But we can't have that. Someone dropping 100 pounds of dumbbells at someone's feet as they're and like, oh, I didn't see you. Like that's really not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He had the best burpee form out of everybody, by the way. If you watch that live coverage, everything was a knockout. Yeah.
The Ram, we don't want people dropping the Ram. I believe it's a safety issue, is what they're citing.
That's all it is.
Same.
Realistically, someone else is right next to you. You drop it, their head's on the ground. You have a 50 or a 44-pound thing flying at you.
It's shocking we haven't had it gone real sideways yet. And we saw it with sit-ups this weekend. Someone finished their final sit-up and just like let it go. And it rolled all the way backwards, and someone went back and their ball hit it rather than the head, luckily. Like it knocked the ball out of their hand in the middle of a rep.
Well,
really? That is the kind of thing we can't. Luckily, it was the dead ball, right? We just can't have it.
One time on doubles, I did the same thing. I just like threw it to finish, and I just like laid there because I didn't have to get up, and it just came back and whacked me in the gut, like knocked the wind out of me a little bit. I was like, oh boy, that was not the smart move right there. But we still took that W, bro. Don't worry about it. So I guess so like video review in general, and I think Jason's question was, is it okay to use it on one station and not the other of the others? I don't think we need to use it at all. I don't think it needs to be opened up to this. I think that's just a mistake. I don't think it's positive in the sports where it is a little bit more subjective as to what happened. I hate it in basketball. I hate it in football. It just like takes away from the excitement of the sport, even though it's like we want to get things right, whatever. I think it just is like opening that door at all. And I don't think that they were using video replay. I have to check the rule book. I don't know if there's anything that mentions video replay in the rule book. I doubt it, but haven't read it until right now. Yeah. But I think that was just.
Do you think that the video, since we're going to have the OCR report showing these races, and whether at the High Rocks live stream or any other one, that that the goal should be more to report the outcome rather than rule on it? Or you're just simply presenting, here's the race. If they missed it, they missed it. We got it on video. Yeah, it sucks. We could do something, but that's on the judge or the athlete for screwing it up.
Yeah, 100%.
Can you think of a time in OCR history or hybrid history where video replay was a positive for the sport? In any time we've seen it used or talked about, anytime it's been beneficial?
Only when it's your team.
No, OCR and hybrid.
OCR.
Oh, OCR and hybrid. Can you think of any examples? I have one in mind.
What was the big one? Was
DEKA Worlds or DEKA Strong Worlds with the sled? Remember how it was on like a different setting?
That's true. That's true.
But what was the outcome that was positive?
Co-champs.
Yeah.
They gave
Camilla and Alondra.
Okay, so we have one there. One in hybrid sports. Anything else you can think of?
Positive?
Positive, or it was good. Like, thank goodness we had this. This helped.
Aaron Newell throwing a bucket.
That's the only other thing I can think of. Aaron Newell with Hunter. Like, someone claims some nonsense went down on course. They went back and saw it, and Hunter elbowing and them throw it like this. Okay, we saw this. We can make a ruling on this because this was on course shenanigans. Like, that's the kind of thing to decide after the fact. Sure.
Yeah.
Let it cool down. Let's talk to them both, show them the footage, and say, here's how we've ruled.
Reviewing
Outside of those two instances, and neither of those were rep-based. Neither of those were form-based. They were incidents on course that was really outside of the rule book.
True.
That's all I wanted for.
Yeah.
Handle things that need to be handled, and there's not something in place for it. We have something in place for reps. It's called the official. We need to use the officials better.
Yeah, that's fair. And that was another question that is like, how much is it like, and Jack brought up like the judging and how to improve that. Like, that's not on, like, DEKA needs to figure that out, right? They need to just train them better, incentivize them more, do something. I don't have the answers, but it's not like you're a good judge, you're a bad judge. Put the good judge in the stations that matter. Like, I guess that is a short-term solution, but just make them all kind of good.
Yeah, I think during the briefing, they should be like, right away, it's okay to say no rep to to these athletes, especially the ones in the first couple hours of the event. If you're an open heater later on, like, maybe encourage them to do it right. But if you are in like the first couple hours of the day when they're doing their morning shift, it's okay to say no rep. You didn't do it right. I think that, stressing that part of it will make a big difference. Because I think a lot of these people just don't want to, because it's awkward saying, oh, sorry, you didn't do it right. Especially if you see these athletes who are fitter and you don't want to, be the person who causes a stir in the event, but it's okay to say someone did something wrong if they did.
I don't like this argument at all. I don't even like having to have this, because their cost-cutting measures are being put on us as the community to try to fix it. And I don't like arguing it because I love Yancey and I know this isn't on him, but he is the face of this and it's going to redirect at him, and this isn't on him. But way back in the day, after a Spartan race in the Midwest where everyone went off course, we talked with the race director and we're like, what is going on here? Like, why can't we just make it dummy proof? Like, you walk the course and you put your little tags where you think it'll go, but you come blasting through with your heart rate at 190 and you don't see these because you're trying not to roll your ankle. And he's like, do you know how much money it would cost to put tape on the whole course? And it's just like, that is, I hate that argument. Then you can't afford to put a race on.
Then make it
if
more
you
clear.
can't do it, if your cost cutting makes it worse, you can't afford to put the race on. And so this whole thing, like, we rely on volunteers. I feel like a dick saying this, but then you're being too cheap and you have to find a way to put the race on while paying someone to work. And how you pay them is up to you. But clearly it's not working because we have egregious reps across the board that aren't being called. And if you're too cheap to pay them, then this is a cost of that. That's just all that it is. If you can't afford to put it on, then don't put the race on. But if you're going to put it on with movement standards, you have to, we're getting to the point like we can't rely on volunteers because they haven't been able to mimic the CrossFit model of accurately training these people up.
10 people say that you need that because you've got 10 people who might be running fast, 10 people per weight, maybe even 15 for worlds. And then you've got a 2-hour shift instead of the full 4 or 8, whatever some people are doing. It's like, we need you to be on. All you have to do is 2 hours. You are the people who are doing this. Like, by signing up for this, you know the rules. You're not afraid of saying no reps. So say you give them like $50, 10 people, that's like $500. That's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. That should not bankrupt the company.
It's not that they don't have money. It's just that they don't care to prioritize it. Like, it's not about the dollar amount.
It's just, it's cost cutting measures. That's all.
Yeah. Like, that's like that would be like so far down in terms of the list of where they want to spend money. They would never, I bet they will never even consider doing that.
But this is the cost of it. All we're talking about this weekend is how disqualifications happened. It has to be worth it to them to spend $500 to not have to DQ 2 high profile stud athletes
who now
But-
don't have a time on the leaderboard and are going
Right.
to have to make some decisions later on where to travel if they're even gonna.
And again, she's West Coast.
Yeah.
She's West Coast.
She made worlds last year. It's like she's clearly one of the better athletes in the sport. She might not have the name recognition of some of the other ones, but you shouldn't give a benefit to someone just because they have name recognition or you've seen them before. The standards should be applied universally across the board to all athletes.
The officials are the course tape.
Mm.
Like if you just said, we decided not to use them, that's no different than saying, we just had bad volunteers. Like, I'm tired of that excuse. You chose to use volunteers. This is your problem. This is not up to the community to find a way to fix it for you.
So like just looking at this without reading the rule book, without all of this baggage, if you're just looking at it like this person was disqualified because she dropped the ram, did one less rep, does that punishment fit the crime? And according to the rule book, it does make sense, but it still seems like too much. But I understand why it's like you must crack down on people trying to cheat, because if they're doing some less reps on all of the stations and taking small penalties the whole time, like then that's just cheating, right? So should there be specific penalties for specific stations, or is it okay just to have it be blanketed like this?
They need a table that has each movement and then infraction, time penalty for it, or outcome, whether it's DQ or 10 seconds per misrep, 30 seconds per misrep, 3 minutes for a totally missed lap, something like that. And I think that would make things a lot clearer instead of having to look at section 4.1.2.b. Just have a very simple penalty chart. And I think that's because there are only certain things that you're going to get penalized on. It's like, unless you complete the rep, it's either like dropping it or not doing enough reps or not enough extension. Those are like the only 3 real issues you can have with a burpee when you think about it. And with the rower, it's like, did you go 500 meters or not? I can't think of anything else that you'd screw up on that. So I feel like you can make a pretty condensed table with those requirements.
And just like take how long it would take to do the rep and multiply it by
Double it.
10 or 2.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want the punishment to fit the crime, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a player safety issue, I think it should lose you a spot. Like if you drop the
full
ram
spot.
and you know you're not supposed to, like whatever you continue on, whatever you finish, you got to move back a spot. Like
But
it's player
time-based.
safety.
It's a
time-based.
time-based sport, especially with qualifications. They need a time.
Or yeah, however you want to do it, but it doesn't gain you time, right? Maybe it does. Either way,
It definitely
it does. But yeah, it must be different. I think there should be a judgment version, like not just a set across the board. Jack's right. There should have. We don't want to ruin people's day. If their action could ruin someone's day, then their day should be ruined. But
How
if
long
it's
would-
just a slip up, a little bit.
Right. How long would like one ram burpee take? Like what's
So I did the math. If it takes 1:20, you've got 20 reps, that's 4 seconds each. I don't think a 5-second penalty is enough, because that's basically the pace that some
it should
people
be
are
like
doing.
it should be like 30.
Yeah, I was thinking it's got to be something so severe,
Me too.
but not crazy.
You can't give them like a 10-second one, because then you actually can like if
It takes some people 10 seconds.
People die on those things. So you can't
Yeah.
just be like, I'm at 17, I'm just gonna take this 20-second penalty and just maybe still
Yeah, I'd say
have an advantage.
15, 20, or 30 seconds. Some nice round number, but not a 10-minute penalty like Spartan used to do with the truss, for
the
instance.
10 minute, you might as well DQ.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with 10 to 15 seconds per rep, because the people that this is going to affect are not doing 20-second reps at the end. We've never seen a pro athlete die to slower than a 4 or 5 second rep. 5, maybe 6, right?
Yeah, they get
6
pretty
seconds
slow.
per rep.
You see people just trying to do arms,
sometimes at the end
looks
you're
like
seeing bad.
it looks like it's
6
taking them
I'm-
6 seconds to get it from the hips over their head.
But we've never seen a 10-second rep out of someone who's in contention for a qualifying spot or a podium. You're not seeing 10-second reps.
You get down there, you lay out on the ram, get up. Maybe.
Yeah, we've all
No,
been
yeah.
there.
I
We take
agree.
away the advantage and we don't end your day.
So what do you do for sit-ups where it might be 2 seconds a rep as opposed to 4? Like, is it just a universal, or do you change it based on the movement?
You establish what's the slowest possible rep someone could be doing, and then just like double it.
But is
Me,
is
that's
a
fine.
10-second rep, if you're gonna, they probably won't enforce it in like the open waves or age group waves, but maybe you say for these 2 waves only, like just for that, because you'll have some people in the open wave where 10 seconds a rep for ram burpees is moving for them. So it's like, I just won't do my rep. Like I don't think
Well,
people
then,
are gonna
yeah,
think that way, but it's
but
the
yeah,
open
then we're
wave.
getting into Spartan shit again, where it's like, I'm gonna do
20 burpees.
20 burpees and just
Yeah.
leave. I'm not gonna do any burpees, and I'm gonna be out of
Yeah.
here.
No, I did them already. You just
Yeah.
missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Unless you're
mean,
signing up competitive, I don't know if it matters.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, that isn't it interesting that they kind of made like a relatively swift decision. Spartan races, you have the penalty tent, and they usually have the list of people with the burpee or in the past they had that, and it's like 3 missed burpees minus a minute 30, and that have your name on the leaderboard. You guys have seen that at races, right?
Mhm.
So you've got a chance. They should have alerted the athletes, I think, and been like, hey, we're dealing something. I think Mark said that he watched his videos, or all of his reps, and he's like, okay, I did 19, I guess, but the DQ is a little harsh. That's how he felt. And same with Jess, where she's like, I did my 20, I bounced it. Is that worthy of a full DQ when I'm a minute ahead of the person behind me, and I could have at least had a time in the leaderboard that mattered for something? I think that's the big discrepancy.
Yeah,
for sure. And like, I don't think that they're wrong. I think it is a little bit too harsh, but the way it's written in the rules, that's just what it is.
Was that an oversight, or did they just not see this happening? So they're like, oh yeah, that's a fair punishment.
I wonder if they did not see this exact scenario playing out this way.
But there were 2 separate scenarios, both and we're focusing on the ram station. Like, what if you do 19 box jump overs, or there are a few zones where reps are not on a display. Yeah,
we saw some things like that happen. There's I don't know his name. There's a guy in the wave I was watching drop his ram out of the lunges, and he ran out, and they called him to run back in.
That was my boy Steve.
That was
yeah.
Steve?
Yeah.
And he had to restack it.
Yep.
Now, that's not a disqualification, but that punishment,
right? That's
darn sure fit the crime.
Yes.
It got him out of rhythm. It lost the momentum that he had. It cost him time.
You lose contact.
But his day wasn't over. He was allowed to, I made a mistake, let me go on.
So another example, I've done this in maybe it was stronger, maybe it was a DEKA mile.
Steve looks big.
Yeah. He's always
strength on him.
He's always a beefier runner. In like doing step overs, both feet have to touch the top of the box. And I have done it where on my last one, I'll step up and with my left foot and then just like go over it with my right, just to head out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just moving too fast. That technically would be a no rep, saved me half a second, maybe. And according to these rules, my day would be over.
Correct.
From that.
DQ so Rich. That's what happens. Oh, we got to DQ you.
Well, yeah,
my judge came up after and like mentioned, is like, I'm not going to say. I was like, don't worry about it, Chief. We're good to go.
Question about that though. When could you pull the rule book up? I want to see the actual letter of the law on the feet touching the top, because Isaac was doing a very efficient step over where he would step up with his left and then off and hit the ground with his left right before the right touched the top. So do both feet have to hit the top prior to touching the bottom, or do they just have to get there at some point before you start back?
It does look like sometimes they're not
correct.
touching.
And I'm not calling them out. It was super efficient. I love it. But I want to know, is it legal?
All right.
Both feet must make contact with the top of the box during the rep.
During the rep. C3 right there.
Both feet are not required to make contact with the top of the box at the same time. But is a rep over if like your left foot is on the ground before your right foot touches the top? That doesn't seem like it's even possible, is it?
Yeah. Step, jump over, tap, tap, down, up.
But like you kind of have to jump off of your left foot while that's already on top of the box to get off of the box.
It's more of a jump and it's a push, tap, down. What it's doing is allowing you not to take your weight onto your left leg and tax the muscle as much. Yeah. It's not necessarily saving time, because once you get there, you still have to bring your right leg back down.
Yeah.
I get I guess I see what you're saying.
But you're not stressing the quad at the top. You're not engaging the hamstring.
If you look at part 5, it says a rep is counted when both feet make contact with the ground on the opposite side of the box the rep
So then it's
started on.
good.
So I
So
think
that's
he's good there.
That counts.
Yeah.
So that
I like
counts.
it. That would save some juice in your thighs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Isaac. And now I put the
Nice.
move on blast, and everyone's got it.
Yep.
But you look great running.
Yeah. What are some other potential?
So
Well,
something
the big problem is the lockout, right? And this is why I come back to we can't have barbell movements in our sport because our
Stop
judges aren't
it.
prepared for it. Because what we saw, all you have to do is lock out. And so what Isaac did, he did what I did back in the stadium day to lock out above your head with the dead balls, is he is locking out here.
Right.
There's like a 15 or 20 degree angle that's open. It's not closed off here. It's here. And that is letter of the law good. And then we had people doing this and doing this and doing this.
Right.
Like, the lockout is a terrible thing to judge if you're not a good judge. And right away we had issues with it, and it looked bad on the live stream.
Should they add in the word vertical lockout? Would that change?
Not until they start making
lockout?
people even lock out at all.
Because that's a thing, right? Like it says overhead. And technically, BK, the example you had with the weight out in front of your face, it's over your head for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not like
if there's a line here and this is head level, it's over that.
Like the ram is not
in a vertical
stacked
plane
with like your
it.
hips and knees. Yeah, you're not.
And there's no verbiage of that.
No.
And it looks clean, and someone will say something about it. But the egregious ones were we had guys on film doing this.
I'm gonna stick it like straight out and like just barely over my head, like it used to be, just like an inch or two over my head.
Yep, duck down, lock it out.
I think I'm gonna do that, dude.
Yeah,
I'm not doing DEKA. I'm done. I'm out. No more DEKAs, except on that Mondo.
So one other thing to keep in mind. So Yancey was not here, which is kind of the big issue here. I don't know necessarily if it would have gone down the way that it did if he was there.
It's in the rules. It better have.
Okay, so you think?
I think that they did it right.
So, but what I was going to say is he dealt with a different incident with the Camilla and Alondra incident with the sled, and kind of a week later resolved that.
That's not that wasn't the same thing though.
Okay,
that was a mistake.
There's no verbiage about that.
Yeah, that's not in here.
Yeah,
like it's pretty.
So you're saying go by the law, or what's written already. You can't retroactively change stuff because that was what the rule was at the time. Yeah.
Like I feel bad, especially for Jess, because she did. Yeah. It seemed like she got disqualified for throwing the ram. Like indirectly she did, but it was just like a no rep that she got that they didn't catch in the moment, which is its own thing. But like you can draw the lines the way it's written in the rules, and the way that they conducted the penalty is what it should have been. And if they don't do that, then it's like, what is this whole rule book for?
Yep. Got to follow it, even if it sucks. And then you can change it immediately after.
Yeah.
Change the rule book.
Yeah. Why not? They do that. Spartan's done that forever.
Right. But there's no point having lockout in there if you're going to let people get by with 1/2 and 3/4 reps. I understand that full lockout is really tough to judge, especially at pace. But partial, halfway is not hard to see. Again, my 11-year-old son, who does not know about this, was next watching this saying, he's not going all the way up. Like, yep, he's not. And there's no consequences in life, kid. Get used to it.
And just cheat your way all the way through.
Yeah.
Cheat your face off.
The other issue that Jess brought up was Robert Killian got a 5-second penalty for the same thing. What do you think about that?
This year?
Knoxville.
Well, he's the 2-time world champion Spartan.
That really sucks for Jess.
She knew that? How did she know that?
Someone told her after.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think Kevin Gregory posted it. And it was, if you look at Knoxville, and it specifically says in the results, if you try pulling that up, click on Killian and then pull up his split times. And I think it says ram was not properly lowered to the ground or was dropped overhead or something like that.
Well, that's not good.
That's a terrible look.
Right. And then that's where like someone like, and it was probably because it was Robert Killian.
Well, then here's where I would accept a retroactive adjustment to someone's score. I would reinstate Jess and give her a 5-second penalty. I would say there's case precedent for this. Jess, you're back in. 5-second penalty.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So here it is.
I've got it pulled up right here. You're not gonna, Rich. It would be much better if you pulled it up. Oh, you've got it. Yep.
Oh no.
So right there, totals, penalty, dropped ram from waist and bounced back up. Dropped
the
ram
Honorable
per Tyler
Tyler
Spencer. Tyler
Spencer.
was one of the race directors.
All right, there it is. It's going to disappear just like the Spartan Race World Championship verbiage got applied to the beast. So we better screenshot this now before the internet changes itself.
It's on YouTube.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
This is going to be taken down in a second.
Live for our Patreon members. Screenshot taken. Now I have all the power.
So then what do? Do you say Killian's 5-second penalty is not enough? Maybe it should have been 30, and then you give both of them a 30? Do you say that
We can't penalize them after the fact,
I know,
but we can reinstate her because it's the right thing to do.
They need to just shut down shop, man. Well, that's
Because
what we need. That's the only logical thing to
a
do.
lawyer
No
would
more
get you
DEKA.
let off for this, right? A lawyer would get just let off.
Precedent. Yeah.
There's precedent.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I'm an expert in bird law, not so much this, but
birds aren't real.
there's precedent.
Spies. This sucks. This is terrible. Now it's just like, oh my
Now it's Spartan Race.
God. Now it's Spartan. Here we are. And that's the one thing I just like that like this whole sport had right and that I was like so pumped about. It's like no retroactive penalties. It made Spartan so stupid. As a sport, it's just like unbelievably dumb. The whole community then would be like, that's what we're hearing on the broadcast. We're like, we're not sure if he did his reps right. Maybe he'll get a penalty. It's like, no. That is not something we do in this sport. And now
No.
we're doing no, stupid.
No, don't.
Don't talk about it. Don't bring that into this world because that was like such a problem with sport. Everyone's worried about pointing fingers and like this person cheated, this person did that. It's like just toxic, awful. And this is like, and now we're doing it. And here we are, we're back.
That's why we can't have nice things. We can't have movement standards. We can't have movement-based reps in this sport. We just can't have nice things.
All right, another example of not completing the number of reps. High Rocks World a couple of years ago. It was Kent and Hunter. They both missed like a burpee broad jump length or something, and they gave some penalty. That was like in the middle of the race though. They didn't do that after, right?
They did it right in the middle of the race. They let them both go. The judge said to go. Right.
Okay.
So Hunter was following judge's orders.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like he just bounced. That may have been a bigger penalty. And they only gave him a minute for that because it was their.
They calculated out what would keep them penalized without losing a spot.
Yes.
So they were like, "You're
I
gonna lose."
I did all my burpees that day. That last length of burpees put me into the ground. You know,
Yeah.
if I didn't
You
have that
could've got
last
away
length of
with that.
burpees,
You would have taken a 1-minute penalty.
I would have taken a 1-minute penalty. I would have been on that podium or something. You know, instead died hard. Not fair. Retroactive. Let's redo that one.
But why? That was a weird decision, kind of dumb. And what came of it? Like, what was the uproar? What was the takeaway? Nothing. People didn't care because the punishment stopped short of being catastrophic in any people's day. No one moved up from it. No one moved down. They didn't get a faster time, but that really wasn't the point of the world championship. So they gave a non-penalty penalty. And I was kind of okay with that.
Exactly. I was okay with it too. I don't think about that as any type of
It's not a talking point.
asterisk or anything. Where in High Rock, sometimes, you know, if you screw up the laps, if you come in early, they give you a penalty that's big enough that it kind of ends your day, which is appropriate, right? In this case, it was on the judge. It was on High Rocks. It's like, let's just like no harm, no foul. Like you get the amount of time that it would take you for that next length, and probably
next
more.
year. Like Alondra got screwed. We talked about it.
The
Trustgate.
sled
We
pull,
talked
terrible.
about it. It was the whole thing. The rower debacle. We talked about it. They got this covered, handled in a way that no one talked about it. That's what you want out of a penalty. Everyone always says we don't want the officials to decide the game. No one wants to win on that.
I mean, the difference with the rower thing is Sandy just decided I'm not finishing. Who knows what would have happened? Like if he kept finishing,
That was
or
not a
if he did
disqualification.
finish.
That was not a disqualification. He chose to stop.
That's true. That's a DNF. Yeah.
They did ultimately disqualify him. I think that's how it went down. But like Alex had the same scenario. He finished. He
Won
won.
the race. Yeah.
Right. Like
That was the worst case for Sandy.
he just stopped.
Yeah,
Like,
Alex
it's
does
not,
the opposite and still wins.
and wins.
I was gonna say like if he ended up running and he finished 6th or something and just missed making the Elite 15 because of that. Then he could have had a strong argument, but he just didn't finish.
He just
Or if Alex walked off with him, we would have been like, "That's right, fight the power."
Yeah.
But he went
Alex
and won
like-
the damn thing.
Alex like, I'm still winning. I'm going to win by more now. Thank you for this
Yeah.
rest.
Thanks, guys.
I will now smash everybody.
Should have laid down on the ground.
That would have gave him
strategy. It
his-
wasn't the ski erg though, so
that blood would have been
little too late in the
flowing
race to
like
try that.
wine. Just
I did that on a rower.
that was
you
on
did.
I
rower.
stayed upright all the way through ski. I didn't crack till after the ski.
Yes, physically,
Come on.
like mentally he was gone, but physically he didn't lay down until the row. Still took that championship. 2-time North American doubles champion.
Bumps me up to second best on this podcast.
Yeah, we gotta send that into the.
I don't know about that. I
Powers
just
that-
won a
powers
team's
that
race
be.
with Glenn, so that puts me a little ahead. Also,
Yeah,
I carried 2 different teams to a championship.
you couldn't carry me.
It's like me. It's like Tom Brady going down to Tampa and winning. It justifies that you are the man. When I pulled Rich along for the ride, they're like, "All right, I get it. I didn't recognize your game, sir."
BK. Yeah, he's got to fight the powers and make himself amend it back up to that second place spot.
Got work to do.
Stadium
buddy.
is hybrid. I'm a 2-time world champ. Come at me.
world
Stadium.
champ.
I might be number 1 on this podcast, honestly, now that I think about it.
You've got
Two-
more
two-time
world
champ.
championship podiums than everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I am
Stadium
resting
world
on
champion?
laurels of a decade past, and they are strong.
When's your next stadium?
Do they do those anymore?
They have a Tampa one in 2 weeks. Same weekend as Big Bear. Yeah. And then there's a City Field, Fenway. No more Texas.
They,
They
just
had
never
Baylor
come
for-
up with something to suit me better than a stadium.
All right, I said I wasn't going to do this, but we're doing it.
Look at
We
that.
are now watching these final reps because I mean I did not go back and look at it. This is all news to BK. What's
Ooh, that's
what's
a no
Katie
rep.
got on them feet? Are those Hyperions?
Looks like it.
She must watch the video.
But we're not seeing full extension here
That's
anywhere,
not full
right?
extension. Yeah.
She's
That's
tired.
not full extension.
Oh,
yeah, that's rough.
She did.
Eh.
Gonna throw that thing. Well,
The
yeah.
most shocking part is that was allowed for so long. That's the most shocking part of all of this.
At DEKA Worlds, I basically spiked the thing. I had it up overhead and then just dropped it. Like opened my hands and then just walked off.
What would happen if you placed it down and then took it across the line with you?
So, yeah, that's a good rep.
Oh, look at Eric Richardson. We got Jack's burner in there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, see, Michelle set it down and they,
I grabbed my phone out during the race and texted that. Yeah.
And I really don't want to be the person that's calling out athletes reps, but that wasn't a rep. Right? That's not lockout.
all right. BK,
This
you've gone-
sport's turning me into a
BK,
bigger
you've
man.
gone, you've gone too far. We need to stop
Yeah,
this.
we
No
shouldn't
more.
we can't
done
have
this.
this.
I told you
This is what they're
shouldn't have brought
forcing
that
us
up.
to
See, that was a
do.
problem.
They're forcing me to be a bad person because their judging is bad.
I'm gonna be like that dude, that CrossFit dude, Hiller. You're gonna be
Oh,
that's you now.
Please don't.
You
No,
are him.
I support the athletes. I'm on the athlete side. This is a judging issue, which is a DEKA issue. It's not on the judges themselves.
So the other issue that keeps getting brought up is Rams. That's where people are really focusing on because it's at the end of the race. It's very easy to judge. You've got lots of camera angles right there. It's like, what about the other zones? There, athletes who did clean Ram burpees could have easily done some crappy step overs or some
hard
bad
to.
lunges. I don't know. There could have been infractions elsewhere, is what I'm saying. So, how do you justify? Like, are we putting all our eggs in the Ram basket? Is that the thing that only matters the most? Because that's what it seems like.
I mean, I don't know. What's the question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if we're gonna apply all these stricter judging standards to one zone specifically, like, what about the other? Are those just not important anymore?
Got to
Yeah.
clean. Got to plug one hole, and then we could maybe work backwards. I don't know, but is the most glaring. Like lunges is probably the
true.
other one.
If you screw up a
Start and
box
end.
step over, it looks horrible. Like, and it was slower. It's almost slower to do them worse, right? Unless you don't
Yeah, unless you jump
touch
over
both
the
sides
box
or
unless
something, like
You just
people
clear the
trip
box.
and make their mistake. So that's glaring.
Mhm.
Farmers carry. Like, what's the
The machine, like
You
can't.
don't put it in the right area.
enter and exit's the only thing on farmers carry. That's a one
I saw
job,
Glenn got corrected on his sit-ups to hit the middle of the target.
which
was
is also
kind
a dumb thing.
It's a target.
Yeah,
If
he was
you
hitting
hit the
bottom.
target, you hit the
like-
target.
you should be able to graze the bottom.
Yeah,
Do the
Yeah.
minimum allowable work. That's how I see
and
it.
that's probably let's
I
actually.
don't even know
look
if
that
that's a
up.
rule.
I don't know either. Like,
Yeah.
if it must be
Put the target higher if
'cause
that's
it
where you want him to hit it.
because it looks funny. So it was probably someone like, hey, this
Mhm.
like that shouldn't be allowed because it does look a little funny. But
Also, it's just like such a nonsensical application of target hitting because you're supposed to hit the middle with like a 12 or 14-inch object. Like you can't tell what part's hitting where.
no,
Just make it touch it. If it touches anywhere, great.
Yeah. Put it
No,
at the minimum required height. And then if they go higher than that, they did extra work. But you at least hit the minimum required height because that's the target. That's where you're trying to hit.
That would be like having to get your full entire all of the cleat down inbounds. Like, what's the purpose of the out of bounds line then? Just like if I've touched anything, I'm inbounds. Well, your last cleat wasn't touching. Like that, we don't want to get into that.
it says I must touch the face of the target. So I guess like if you're hitting like the bottom edge,
Right.
Yeah.
which I
No
guess
one's
is
doing
fair.
that, which I
I
feel
mean,
like
that was
would be.
kind. That was it was close to what he was doing.
If they made it hand release, that would solve all the issues.
You
If it
actually had to
doesn't come
throw it?
back at you, right? If it doesn't come back at you, you didn't hit it.
I don't let
Right.
go of it. So that would change things for sure.
All right.
But yeah, there's no such thing as hitting the middle of the target.
Anyway, just in summary, what would you guys do with this whole situation?
I'd
I
shut
get
down the
rid of my
operation.
burpees entirely.
What happens to Mark? What happens to Jess?
Lifetime ban.
Yeah. Like I said, I would just close down shop, Deka. Just like we're done.
You've had a good run, Deka, but let's
This
High
is-
Rock's just hire Yancey.
We've gotten to this point. This is not good. No, I would have specific penalties for specific stations. I think like what we talked about, like 10 to 30 seconds per missed rep on RAM. Same with lunges, something that is going to just add on. Because I mean, 30 seconds for these athletes in particular, that is also painful, right? They would got in the finishing position. Like Jess would have still gotten second.
Yeah, she won by like a minute or finished about a minute ahead of Michelle and Julie.
And that 30-second penalty would probably could potentially bump her out of a finishing position when it comes to world qualifier, which is painful, right? Well, that sucks. And same with Mark, right? Like at least he would have a mark on there, have a time that he could hopefully move him up. But that's what I would do. I would have specific ones, and it just makes it easy. Be like, okay, here's the penalty here. DQing people for not finishing is easier. It's more clear. It's like too bad. Like you can't skip on these. But I would have 10 seconds per missed lunge, 15 seconds per missed burpee.
Missed or incorrect form. It's only after race or live. How do you determine when that penalty is assessed?
No penalty for incorrect form.
Okay.
That is something that we just cannot do.
Only if you did 18 out of 20.
If you were called for no reps, if you were called for 2 no reps and still finished,
okay,
and you had to 20 in your brain, but the judge called 18, then yes, then you get the 30-second penalty or whatever.
Okay.
But no,
leave it up to the
absolutely
judges
no penalties
in the
for that.
moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's
Because
what I
unless
think.
you're corrected, why do you have any incentive to do something else? Because you think it's right in the moment.
Exactly.
Let's get volunteers out of there. Let's put Yancey
Performance
Culp
center.
up in a box, just like a casino boss. You've got you, me, Jack, Anthony Parasini.
Mm-hmm.
We could have Dave Claxton in the corner on a bucket. We're all staring at our monitors and we're just like, that guy's cheating. He's good to go.
It would be the replay booth.
Yeah.
Send it
But
to-
live action.
Call it into headquarters.
Our 5 eyes, 6 eyes could cover 10 athletes.
the ideal is like what High Rocks is kind of leaning into is just like if there could be some sort of machine artificial intelligence doing this, then it's not, then it's just like out of subjective. It's just completely like put a sensor in the RAM somehow and have it like understand like how high it needs to go, where it's like completely like paused or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but you can pause it lower. I'm sure they can work out the mechanics of that. But yeah,
Usually it's like floating. Like if it's
Have a target to tap.
tap a target.
make
Let's
it
do,
like 8 feet tall so people have to jump with it.
We're
if you're
not
tall
CrossFit,
enough.
so why try to be? Let's not do form reps. Let's just work as fast and as ugly as we can.
Yeah, you can take the
Get
RAM
it
out of
done.
it. Yeah, to a target or something. Yeah, I mean, then height becomes a thing. But the height's a thing anyway. Height's a thing in all these other stations as well.
Problem is the RAM is synonymous with DEKA, and so the RAM must be used. And introducing the RAM means that there's really only one purposeful thing to do with it, and that's to lift it up into the air. Like you can't do RAM burpee jump overs because it's a rolling object. It might even be a cylinder. We're not entirely sure.
It could be, yeah, like a burpee broad jump with the RAM. Only you have to do 250 meters of burpee broad jump throws. So you do the burpee with the RAM and you just launch that thing.
Instead of
Let's just
not
make
throwing it.
Let's do more throwing.
Yeah.
If everyone's tossing it.
Just everybody throws it.
How about wall overs with the RAM?
I was thinking
Yeah.
something like that, like
let
with
bounce
like
everywhere.
like the keg throw they have in Strongman.
Yeah.
But now we're talking. If people can
Those
juggle
rams.
flaming chainsaws, we can bounce some rams around, guys.
We could definitely bounce these rams.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, we got to make it as goofy as possible. You finish in a pool, bob test holding the ram.
Kind of the event that happened last couple weeks ago at that
20
H2O
bobs.
I want the smallest rams, but you got to pinch grip the inside and hold them like that for farmer's
Oh,
carry.
yeah.
I think that's smart.
That's kind of cool.
I think that's smart. Jack,
And then
Jack,
you bring it with you to the next station, which is burpee broad jumps, and now we don't have the rack re-rack issue.
yeah, just take the ram for the entire thing. Let's get GoRuck out of here because we don't,
Go rock heavy.
and we'll just have it. You do the ram. You carry the ram with you instead of
Go rock's been done. Leave the vest to them.
GoRuck's
Give us the ram.
GoRuck's out.
Speaking of GoRuck, Jarrett Newby went 34.44 at Worlds, and Grady Jackson went 35.05 or something like
Wow,
that.
it's close.
Not too far behind.
And we've come to the segment where I apologize for underestimating someone. I said no one should bother going after Jared's record. And Grady, you're the man. Go take him down. He's too high on his horse. All right. I'm sick of Newby thinking he's the best weighted runner. He's not done anything yet, and it's on you to do it.
You think Jarrett Newby's like Hobie Call in the early days? We just didn't see anybody who had the skill set to do it. And then we found out there are some other people on this planet who can run like him, or is Jarrett just
No,
he's gonna
I
be
know,
good
because
at it?
Hobie Call was still the best at 40.
Yeah, no, I know.
Seeing-
I'm just messing
seeing-
with you.
seeing Jared run at High Rocks DC or did 60 flat, right? Like 60 low.
Yeah.
With
Him
the
and Dylan.
freaking yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like whatever he did during DEKA. I think he did a fit before, right? Wasn't it in PA that he did this
Something,
record?
yeah.
And he had already done the fit. I just don't. I think if Jared gets out there and goes aggressive in a fit,
33.
he's qualifying for like regular worlds. Yeah, like seriously, like he can freaking run with that thing. It doesn't even look like it's. Doesn't even look like it's on. It looks like a hydration vest that he's wearing.
You just
Yeah.
watch him, you think this guy doesn't get a ton of vertical oscillation when he runs, but he's smooth. That's like that's all that is happening.
Looks like his back hurts a little bit.
He's
but
just more of a heel striker than a toe striker.
Right.
yeah.
Uh,
But Jarrett won Worlds by like 4 or 5 minutes last year. I think Grady's gonna make it a battle this time.
It was really fun watching the Go Ruck at NDC. It truly was really fun.
Stupidly
Yeah.
fun. Way better
Yeah.
than it should have had any right to be.
No,
Yeah.
for sure.
And Grady's doing Go Ruck Anaheim a couple weeks. High Rocks.
Okay. He's not doing last chance qualifier.
No, he
He's got a
mentioned this
shot.
is kind of proper. Yeah,
He's got a
I
shot.
know.
There's no so CrossFit released the semifinal workouts. Not a single
All of
event
them.
with a Go Ruck. All of them.
Yeah.
No,
There was
no
a leak or something, right?
No ruck pack. Nah, I mean there was something, but I mean they released the workouts like an hour after that leak happened or
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Which I was thrilled to see. I was like, great. That was my biggest worry about them being the CrossFit sponsor. I think people might have to wear their shoes, which doesn't seem awesome. And to like
It's classic CrossFit.
They're required to wear. Oh, that would be.
that's how it's
crazy.
been. That's how it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, they give them a ton of swag when they get to the
Be like, I'm wearing
games.
zero drop version of those. Don't tell me what shoes to wear.
All the guys had the Metcons back in the day, and the Reebok's like, you're using our nanos. And
Yep.
They were
And now-
not
and then,
happy
like,
about
they
it.
They had no bull, but I mean, they're all kind of the same, whatever. Have you tried any of those, BK? Have you gotten into like the Metcon Nano?
I played basketball in
no
the Metcon for a little bit to try them out. I liked low top stuff. Kobe's were getting expensive.
Did you fuck- cock one back with the Metcons on?
No,
No.
I didn't like the feel of the shoe.
I've never.
To me, it's a shoe that does nothing well.
yes.
It's like, you want to run, you're going to run kind of worse. You're going to lift worse than platform shoes. You're going to, You're going to not have the agility of basketball shoes, but you can do all of them pretty not okay in this shoe, and you're not going to be the worst at any of them.
That's kind of like CrossFit's methodology. It's like we're going to be pretty okay at everything.
You're not really a great runner. You're not really that strong compared to Olympic lifters.
Right.
But
No, I would say they are better at their things than the shoe is at any one of its things.
Okay.
You heard it here.
New
Bad
shoe for every
Bracken knows
competition.
shoes. Where would they go on your wall?
They wouldn't. They don't make the wall.
Okay, good.
These are all shoes that have proven their worth to me in the arena. I don't need you sneering from the outside.
Which one are you going to wear when you finally do a DEKAFIT?
I mean, it depends on the surface. Are we talking Mondo?
Mondo.
Are we talking
I think it depends on where you're going to
Florida?
race. The people are asking. I had probably 3 or 4 people ask when you're finally going to get a mark. Yeah.
A lot of people.
Dead serious. People were like,
people are asking.
No, serious. In NorCal, I had a few people come up and ask when you're going to run, and it's kind of fitting that Matt bumped you down the leaderboard because you just don't have a time. So just trying to see.
Well, like I said, there's only one Midwest race, and we have a family vacation every year during it.
Orlando,
Mondo, Ocala.
So Ocala is it's written in italics on my schedule. It's the only one that fits.
Yeah.
That's in September.
That's a long
September
way
8th.
away. Just like my High Rocks is a long way away. There's got to be stuff that happens sooner.
Ocala.
There's a mile I can get sooner.
I should look that stuff up too. Doing the mile in the strong is terrible at altitude. It's something I just don't like.
I will tell you, Jack, exactly what is on my schedule. We'll put it out there for the people.
Oh, this is just for me. This is for everybody.
Yeah.
You're still live.
Yeah, I'm not going to stick to it anyway. You guys can all suck it.
Yeah. Did you buy a flight? Because that means you're in.
Not when it comes to High Rocks, apparently.
Oh yeah, did you get that flight recouped?
Nah, it's $100 change fee on a $200 flight. You guys can just suck it.
Jeez.
You can suck it.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. Well, what in the world? DEKA Florida 9-7 and DEKA Mile 8-10 in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Ooh.
Get Kirk.
Get Kirk out there.
Get him.
Is he going to
His
do it?
hometown.
So he's doing a road half?
Road half. Yeah, someone that he knows gave him their ticket.
All right, so we saw Nick Mask run a 68.55 and Hawk Call run a 65.59. Where's
the
Kirk
problem
falling?
is these times, like, it's really easy to be like, yeah, 70 minutes in a half marathon, and you realize that's what, like 5:20 pace?
No, it's like 5:12 or something for
70
Nick
years?
Mask. Hawk.
For 70.
Oh, 70. Oh, yeah.
That's not slow running. And the
No.
difference between like 5:20 and 5:30 is exponential.
Yeah.
And the difference between 5:20 and 5:10 is exponential. And so like you can't overkick your coverage in a 60-minute race, a 70-minute race. So I think he's probably going to try to run conservatively. He wants probably a 69 or 70, and he's probably best going out at like 75 pace.
He's going to get in the sub 70, I think. Yeah.
It's not something I'm... Ugh.
It sounds like a terrible race to me.
It really is rough.
Bad distance. Basically like a High Rocks, then some.
You just have to be so efficient at that exact stride and pace. Otherwise, there's too much time to fall apart for. Like, I know Kirk can run 5:20 for 8 to 10 miles for sure. But like, if the next 3 to 5 are at 5:40 pace, like your race is screwed.
Training is just rough for that too. You just got to go out and do it.
Right.
What's your PR, Rich?
And a half? I actually don't have a half PR. I've never raced
even when you were in that 10-mile good fitness, you never tried a half?
No, I signed up for a couple halves. There's a fast one in Philly, but I never...
Broad Street one, I think. Or...
Broad Street's a 10-miler.
Okay.
And then there's...
Because I had some friends from New Hampshire go all the way to Philly to do some...
this past weekend.
Yeah. It was this past weekend.
Was it?
It was, there was no Africans out there. Actually, the St. Joe's dude won it in like 47 something. Dude, he graduated, I guess, 5 years after me. He came in the year after I left. But no Africans. Usually it's one in like 45, 44.
Wow.
But nobody's out there. I wonder if they cut the prize money or something, because it was like, it wasn't that much. It was like three grand or something like that. Yeah,
Didn't like Sam Chalanga win that like a few times?
I don't know. He went to college out in the East Coast.
Yeah.
I ran one half, and that was that Cheyenne Mountain half. My first week out in
That's
Colorado.
not a fast time.
It's like 3,000 feet of vert or something.
Was it trail?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think that counts.
Yeah. I did one half marathon, and it was a year after I quit the track team in college, and I took a personal, like, I'm not going to run a single step for the entire semester stance because I was just so burnt out on running. And I went 120/40. So I averaged like 6:15 pace or something.
That might
like
just be my worst distance that I could
Yeah.
possibly train for.
You never start out strong when you pick out a distance though, Jack. But
No.
you can improve. Your 800 meter will be the same as your half.
I basically ran a DEKA almost as fast as my first 5K. So
yeah.
I think in my absolute fittest, 75 is about as fast as I could have gone.
yeah,
Just
I was
like
gonna say-
that hour to 2 hour distance is just like a black hole in my fitness.
I think 540 to 545 pace is probably where I would have
Mhm.
maxed out at my best.
Let me see what my equivalent would be. Pull this up real quick.
What do you think? 540-ish for you, Bracken?
Yeah, I think 545 is 75,
70,
40
5
something.
Yeah, 540, 74:15.
My equivalent would be on about
75,
69:20.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah, we'll see if Kirk's faster
That's
than
not
your
me.
equivalent.
Maybe.
Not on his first attempt, I don't think so, but I think he can be.
This is when I was a
Yeah.
young man too. I was a young person. BK, what do you got on TRP? You had the beer miler?
And the beer miler, beer mile world record holder, and it was a good conversation.
Did you talk about beer miling?
We got to that, yeah. Yeah, and there's more. He's talking about the angle you have to hold it at to avoid it hitting the neck of the bottle and to allow oxygen to rush in to keep the flow going, so not fully sealing your lips around the bottle.
man.
And he
That
runs
guy.
carrying a bottle holder. He doesn't do gloves.
No
I mean,
gloves,
a bottle
Jack?
opener.
It sounds
Bottle
like
opener.
he
That
has a
sounds like
bottle
cheating.
opener. Yeah.
He has a bottle. He runs with it in his hand and doesn't use gloves instead.
You know what that sounds like, Bracken? Like he's carrying a bottle opener.
Yeah.
Um,
I talked
that's
about his
legal?
training, how he trains for it.
Is he? He's
How he
not
got
drinking.
into it?
I was a man and used gloves. Tell him that.
Is he drinking
Yeah, I'm on
beer
Team Glove.
when he's training?
Very, very infrequently does he
Yeah.
ever. He
Is
just
he-
trains like a miler, and he said, I just have like a super strong, large stomach,
Mm.
and I just pray to the stomach gods before every race that holds it together. He
And
said
can
it
just
never
open it
gets
up?
better. It's miserable every time. He
Yeah.
said his stomach is just massacred afterwards. But
I want to know about like the post-race aftermath, like how quickly he gets drunk versus how I felt after doing it.
He like goes off the rails, goes to like the casino every time. It's going nuts.
he said they all go for cooldowns afterwards, and it's the dumbest thing because they're all just
Cool
like,
down.
it's like
Gone.
they
Probably
just
funny.
treat it like track, but they all just hate it.
Yeah.
Every time they're like, why do we do this?
Yeah.
But he's got a legit Adidas sponsorship. Like he gets to run
Oh wow.
like that Boston Marathon Mile. He's done some Diamond League stuff. He's done some pacing duty.
Diamond League?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he's a 357 miler.
I know he's good,
which
but I
doesn't
didn't
normally
realize-
get you there. But when you're on Adidas payroll, and he'll do some pacing duties, and like he lives a pretty sweet life.
Nice. How old is he?
Yeah.
29.
Oh, nice. Good
Okay.
for him.
A little
That's
time.
great.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
he got his Adidas contract in college, and then he went to school in Canada at Windsor, and he lost half of his season because they were sorting out whether he was eligible to race or not.
Pre-NIL.
Does Canada get NIL?
No,
Do
what's
communist
good
countries
question.
get that?
the Purdue guy, Zach Edey, he was mad because he's not able to benefit from it, and he would have made some serious money this year.
There's
Because
tax
he's
implications for
Canadian?
foreign citizens.
He's Canadian. yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was just like a different, like the NCAA is not the same as whatever governing.
That's
body
what I
they
was
have.
referring to originally, but yeah,
Yeah.
Edie is it's a tax implication thing.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck. You guys had friends like in college who could just open up like that and just like throw back beers?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was always like a party trick.
They
like,
couldn't
a
run
couple-
though.
No, but like just seeing people do that, and even like I had a couple buddies who would just do that and they would like show off and it'd be funny, but then they would just be like turnt drunk and like,
Gone.
they'd, like ruin their night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's like a card-
100% was far better at fast consumption than tolerating it. And so
It's tough.
I couldn't, but I would put myself in the upper echelon of how quickly it can go in and the
Oh.
lower echelon of how well I handle it.
That's not a good combo. You want to be
No,
the
so you just
opposite.
you can't lean into that skill set. That's an
That's
early
why
exit.
It's pretty worthless.
Short night at the office.
Well, Irish goodbye action happening.
Stomach
in the future.
capacity, elite for me, but I just didn't drink a lot.
Elite stomach capacity.
Elite.
My
I
stomach
could put
capacity is
down
good.
some
My
food.
consumption splits are poor.
Did you guys ever do the gallon milk chug competition?
No.
Almost got it done. Gallon challenge. I got real
Yeah.
close. I had like that much milk, and I was just like, "All right, I'm drinking this milk."
Jeez.
I got
then-
hosed on this. We had a big track session and I had forgotten about this. And I got home and I took a nap and I woke up starving and I made 2 Orv's pizzas and I ate one and I started eating the second. And they're like, "Hey man, we're going to get our gallons." And I was like, "Oh no."
Hell yeah.
And I was like, "Do I make myself puke and rally here or what?" And I just went in with my stomach was too full and I went with Choco-rific and it's just a
Oh
bad
my.
night.
Oh, you did
goodness,
chocolate
man.
milk instead of
What do you
regular?
You just
Yeah.
did whole milk. What's the matter with you?
Cheating.
I wanted to just, if I was going to do it, I was going to do it with.
How much did you get done?
I got about halfway through in the first 25, 30 minutes. And then I got to 2/3 of the way through and there were like 12 minutes left and I didn't have any more room. So at that point, I just decided I've got to get this out of
Gotta
me.
go.
And I just opened up until it came back out. And
Yeah.
then I just explosively vomited for like 11 or 12 minutes. And
Yeah.
we had 72 people, I think, something like that doing it, or 55
Whoa.
or whatever it was.
Anybody
in
get it
at
done?
the track house? Yeah. The throws coach finished in like 40 minutes and just like hung out.
Just started eating donuts.
Just an absolute.
Did you
mountain of a
guys, like,
man.
ju-
But we had like 15 people in the yard all at the same time in their own little area, just puking up a gallon of milk or half gallon, and the grass was decimated for.
Oh yeah, you don't take that. You don't
It's
take that into
nasty.
account. Yeah.
Fertilizer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Anyways, I
did-
failed spectacularly.
Yeah. Did you guys just wipe out the grocery store? Because I can imagine what all the grocery carts
It's a
look
lot of
like.
milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. 72
minimum
people?
50 people. Minimum 50.
That's a ton of milk. Yeah.
So
they,
you almost finished?
almost finished. It was like I
Did you
had
make
like
yourself puke after?
I
Because you don't want to
like,
deal with that coming through the GI.
you don't want to live your day with all that milk in you. No, same thing. I had like, I think less than 10 minutes and I probably had, it was close, man. Maybe there was 30 ounces left, 20 to 30 ounces left. And I just had
That's
it. and I
not,
was
Which
like,
is
that's not really
already a lot
close.
of
That's
milk.
that's like survive until mile 20 and you're like, I almost got that marathon.
that's not
Close,
bad.
though. In this
20
challenge,
ounces of a gallon.
I know. No, you've already got 100 ounces down. That's actually insane when you think
Thank
about it.
And then
3
I
liters.
had it and I was like, we got to go. It's time. And all my buddies had already lost. And I just like tipped it back. And I knew it wasn't going to happen. Like I wasn't going into like my finishing kick. I was like hopeful. And,
no, it's blaze of glory.
I just didn't have it. And then it just all came back out.
Yeah.
And it was
It's the most
hilarious.
unique vomiting you've ever felt.
It wasn't.
Is it
it's
all?
not-
Is
it's
it
not like
white?
paint. Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm just
Mine was
making
brown.
sure it's like
It's
not
weird.
digested at this point or anything. Yeah.
It's relieving too. It's like not painful like how
Lisa insisted on coming to watch. We were dating at the time. And
you're so
I
you're,
warned her.
you're
I'm
such
like,
an impressive man.
Yeah.
I'm like this, you are not going to think highly of me. Like whatever you think of me now, it's going to be lower. I don't think you should go. And we're sitting there and I had to like unzip my pants because my stomach was so distended. And I'm sitting here just like a water fountain into the yard. And she's like, "Do you want me to rub your back?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm going to marry this woman."
Oh man.
Should have just worn overalls. That would be the move to go.
Boys are so stupid. It's
Yeah.
crazy how stupid boys are. It's crazy.
There are so many things you're just like, you probably shouldn't go and watch this. I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm a dumb guy, but it'd be better for you not to.
I think it's cool.
I completely understand lesbians.
It's
Like
like
they have it figured out.
it's like that pool is just not something I'm interested in.
Why it's
guys
a
are dumb.
lottery to get even like a partially fully
Competent
put together
person.
male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of dummies out there, especially young.
Unbelievable.
All right. That's really it. Next week we have the last chance qualifier for High Rocks in Anaheim, which will be exciting and fun to talk about. And also Big Bear. You gonna do your thing, Jack, or are you just gonna be like whoever goes, whatever, we don't really care?
I'm gonna try to do a prediction contest.
And you're racing, right?
Wait.
Racing.
We're drafting Big Bear.
Oh yeah.
No.
We'll do
Are
that.
we?
What? Why would? What else are we gonna do?
All right.
We have to draft.
Are we going to be able to get that many people? Like, what's the?
I know Rose, Hawk Call, Manuel Defoe.
Again? Jeez. What is
yeah, he's coming
So
over.
we have 3 people?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
There are
So-
more. Yeah.
Going after that.
Me-
Where they got like $350 for the winner there?
Yeah. Sean Roberts is going to be there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That excites me.
Probably Annie, I imagine, because she showed up to Jacksonville.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
I'm sure there are going to be more names than where.
Is she healthy? Fully healthy?
Seems
I don't
like,
know.
Yeah.
Most likely.
She's doing stuff.
Yeah, if she is, she's the woman to beat.
She's doing stuff.
Doing
Good.
stuff.
High level intel.
I think that we should do kind of like a hybrid draft where you have a pool of athletes and it's like you could choose either High Rocks or OCR, the same thing, and then we just kind of combine the two.
It's like fun, but it's not that it doesn't make sense in terms of like a conversation
Or-
to preview the thing.
How
'Cause
about
then we're
this? We
talking
do-
about different stuff the entire time.
Teams of 5, we draft each one. So we do two drafts of 5. 10 people still. It's kind of the same idea, same amount of people, but we'll spend half the episode on Big Bear, half of it on High Rocks.
It's just that as much as we trash Spartan, if we stop drafting for their series, like
It's over.
We won't. Yeah. Okay.
it's over.
Fair.
This will just officially become, I'm
We're
going to get it
drafting it.
tattooed on my lower back, hybrid race brain.
All right. We're
We
going
need
to talk about it.
OCR. We're doing it.
Drafted. All right. Fine. All right. Thanks for checking us out. We'll talk to you soon.